on tonight's agenda?
Are tax assessments on tonight's agenda?
Yes. Okay, with that, I'll ask the clerk to take the roll.
Okay, just give me 1 minute since I've. Zoom just went on. Supervisor Mike Blanco,
Here.
Councilors Rochdale,
Here.
Lee Hood. Here. Dueling,
Here.
Mannion,
Here.
Fiorenza,
Here.
Doctor, here.
Okay. We have a 6:05 public hearing on a draft document called local waterfront revitalization program. I'd like to get to that. I'm assuming the assessment conversation is going to dominate the meeting. So I will move that up, but I also have a presentation from regarding a hydrogen project. So I will try to get the public hearing and through the hydrogen presentation as fast as possible, and then we'll move the assessment conversation to the top of the agenda. Okay, with that, I'll ask for a motion to approve the meeting minutes on April 24th.
I
I
saw.
have a motion from Karen and from Joe. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Same motion carried. I don't imagine the authorization for any will take it later. You want? No, I'll do it now because I've got 10 minutes before the public hearing. Sure.
So Highways has 2 open positions currently, and I sent you another resume this morning. I'd like to fill that position also. But the first position is Joshua Riley, the starting salary of step 6, 2407. Josh, East Syracuse graduate, experience with a loader, brush truck chipper, and he'll be a versatile guy with carpentry, electrical, plumbing, and some grounds maintenance experience also. Any questions from the board?
Brock, just please verify this was approved in this year's budget.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other comment?
And you have one more position to fill, Rock?
Yeah, yeah, the whole 2 of them tonight, and then the highway will be full.
Okay.
Want us to do them separately, Ed?
Yes.
Yes.
Very well.
I'll entertain a motion.
I so moved.
Councilor Spencer. Second from Joe. Councilor Joe, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion's carried.
And then need it's time sensitive, so if Angela could record the minutes for seniority purposes, he was hired first.
Correct.
So it'll be on the seniority list, Angela.
Okay, what effect, do you have an effective date yet?
It will be Monday, I believe, the 22nd
Okay.
for both of them.
And we pay those.
Yeah. You pay for it too. So good. So the second candidate is Spencer Griff. Spencer's going to come in at step 8, 2565. A graduate Alfred State, associate degree in masonry skills. Certification heavy equipment repair and operation, both a CDLB license, which we need for our trucks to be driven. He also has experience with hydro excavation, which is really good for our Aquatech. Dozer, wheel loader, dump trucks, excavators. He currently works, he's been working for 5 years plus with the same company, running heavy equipment. So Spencer did good with the background check, and looking forward to hiring Spencer with a lot of good construction skills he brings to the table. Any questions from?
Yeah,
Make a motion.
I'll entertain a motion from Jack, a second from Sarah. I'll call for the vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Same. Motion's carried.
Thank you.
6:05, and we need to notice on the public hearing for the whole waterfront revitalization program.
Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held at the town board of the town of DeWitt, New York, at the town offices 5400 Butternut Drive on Monday, May 8th, 2023 at 6:05 PM to review and consider the draft local waterfront revitalization program for the town of DeWitt as complete and ready to submit to the New York State Department of State for its review by state, federal, and regional agencies pursuant to the provisions of Article 42 of the New York State Executive Law. Copy of the draft local waterfront revitalization program for the town of DeWitt is available for public examination at the town offices, also on the town website, and this was published in the Post Standard on 4/27/2023.
Is there anyone here who cares to speak to this? Just
Can't hear anything. You know, you gotta use your brains.
the local waterfront revitalization program is a New York State granting program that allows municipalities to revitalize their waterfronts, create development opportunities, economic opportunities, and also improve water quality. And so it's a process that we went through. There's a document that should be online. It's a draft document that we approve this document and we go to the state for their approval. While the project listed in the back of the document, we go forward for grant applications. Again, it's designed to help municipalities with things like flood control, flood management, along with water quality improvements and economic development on those ways. In particular, the town of DeWitt has Butternut Creek and Lake Creek watershed basins, of which we are now eligible for future grant opportunities related to this document. Okay, is there anyone from the board that would like to comment? Again, this is a document that you've seen for quite a while. It's been a several-year process of which we've gone through and so on. Obviously, multiple iterations, but at this point in time, we're extended to the state.
Did our resolution at our last meeting, so this follows on that.
Okay, so I will close the public hearing. And I'll entertain a motion to authorize issuance of the document to the state of New York. A motion from Karen, a second from Joe. I'll call for the vote, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstaining, motion is carried. Okay, is our hydrogen group here? Paul?
We do. We have a couple of different ways we can do this. Angela's going to help us out. And hi, everybody. My name is Paul. And I have my team here that I think will just be up here to help me make some presentations. Here we go. Thanks, Angela. Just a quick second. That work.
While we're getting that set up, I'll preface this with the town of DeWitt has been the fortunate recipient of a grant from Senator Schumer's office and also one from the DEC related to hydrogen. But you may be aware that the town of DeWitt is one of the few municipalities that is totally free of fossil fuels for its electric consumption. We have a 2.6 megawatt solar farm on former town landfill, and we have one on this roof. All our street lights, our sewer pumps, our water pumps, our buildings and facilities are covered by their electric needs. We still heat with natural gas and we power much of our vehicles with gasoline and diesel fuel. Hydrogen is a clean fuel that's more powerful than diesel, and National Grid and others are beginning to look at the use of hydrogen. It is our hope that in the future, we are able to take some excess electricity off of our solar farm, separate it into separate water into hydrogen and oxygen, and then push that hydrogen back into our vehicles. There's no electric vehicle large enough or powerful enough to push snow. So somewhere down the road, we're looking for it. Hydrogen is an alternative because it'll be over a decade before electric vehicles are capable of performing that task. Today with us, we have a group that is piloting a hydrogen project with National Grid, and we are looking to site that facility at the Carrier Park town property in East Syracuse. And we're working with them to pilot this project. And so Paul is here to introduce this project to the board and to explain some of the details behind this program.
Great, thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to try to speak to all. I know this is primarily a presentation to the board, but I'm also going to try to speak to everybody that's here. So my name is Paul, and I've got two colleagues with me today from the Standard Hydrogen Corporation, Gary and Bill. And also our colleague Chris Gorman from National Grid is here. And Standard Hydrogen is a company that's here in New York State. We're all New Yorkers. Bill and I are native New Yorkers. Gary's been a New Yorker for a long time. What we want to share with you for a couple of minutes is our vision for how hydrogen is part of the process of moving over to a clean energy future. And then we'll narrow down onto this opportunity that we have to bring a National Grid funded project here to make DeWitt the first hydrogen town really in the state. So we want to start with this idea of emissions-free everything. And there's a vision that we're moving toward a future where we don't get our electricity from anything except the sun and the wind and the water. And then we also have to think about how we get that electricity to anything that we need it for, whether it's for our cars, whether it's for our homes. How do we get that energy and use it for anything without any emissions associated with that? That's what our company calls emissions-free everything. And in order to do that, in order to make the sun and the wind and hydropower available whenever we want it and for whatever we want it, energy storage is a really big thing. And energy storage is out there right now in terms of batteries. Hydrogen is another form that we can make energy from those resources get into whatever application you might want. And that's what my company is doing. We have a technology which we'll share with you in just a minute that's helping to electrify vehicles in terms of battery electric vehicles and let them be running on solar power and wind power, not just when the sun is shining and when the wind is turning, but anytime. Helping places that have solar panels on their rooftops to stay up and running during grid outages, when otherwise those solar panels wouldn't help at all. This would allow that solar to be useful anytime. And then eventually to connect across and help New York State achieve its goals of what we call renewable baseload, meaning replacing peaker plants and replacing other kinds of natural gas power plants so that really the whole state can run on just wind and sun and water. Our technology is called the Energy Transfer System, and it's not new. And these containers that we're showing here in an artist view are commercialized components that companies are buying and installing today all over the world, especially in California and in Europe. And our company is working on purchasing these, assembling them into this system that you see. And we'd like DeWitt to be one of the first places to receive this equipment. As a take-home message from this slide, you can see it does both transportation as well as electricity. It does this on a whole neighborhood scale or distributed scale. And it can keep a whole neighborhood up and running for days, not just for hours, after a big storm or a hurricane or even a winter ice storm. Okay, so this is where I usually say don't pay any attention to the guy behind the curtain and see who's pulling the levers back there. But actually, it's very important to us that we share with you that there's no secret sauce here. There are no emissions out of this box. So this is a really quick schematic that I'm going to share that the inputs of our system are electricity and water. The electricity splits that water into hydrogen and then also into oxygen. For us, oxygen is a byproduct. And the hydrogen is the medium that we use to store that electricity and then make it useful anytime that you want it. It comes back out the other side as electricity again into electric vehicles, into powering lights and buildings. And you can also direct it out as hydrogen for fuel cell vehicles, and we'll talk about those in a few minutes. This works exactly as designed. There are some economic considerations that we'll get into, and there are some physics behind this, which we can answer if there are questions. But we wanted to show you that it is very simple. This technology has been around for decades. And now we feel is the time that the economics have caught up to the technology, and it's a cost-effective time to deploy this today. And here's why. Making solar power and making wind power can be as inexpensive as pennies per kilowatt hour. But we're all paying a lot more than just pennies per kilowatt hour for our electricity, especially at times of really high demand, like on a hot August afternoon, everybody wants to turn on their air conditioners, keep those up and running. The grid is a very expensive machine to run. And so getting those electrons over from solar and wind and getting them delivered to places where you need to use them takes the flexibility of something like hydrogen or batteries to do that. And our company has come up with an economic system that delivers many functions in order to make it more economical. We can get into those details in a few minutes if we want to. What I'd like to spend more time on today is the actual opportunity for DeWitt and why this system matters for DeWitt. And that story starts first with our team and then with National Grid. So much of our team is here today. Gary and Bill and I are all here, and our colleague Dan O'Connell, and we all have decades worth of hydrogen experience. Many of us have worked in vehicles before. A lot of us have worked on the materials of fuel cells and hydrogen. And now we are ready to bring this out into the market. And the first thing we want to start with is how important safety is to our company. Safety is extraordinarily important with any fuel, and hydrogen is no different. And Gary and Dan especially have firsthand knowledge of operating hydrogen stations for General Motors when they were just down the road outside of Rochester and Honey High Falls. I'm going to pass it to Gary just for a minute to share a comment or two if you want about safety. So he can give you, instead of me translating for you, this is the gentleman I was talking about.
Yeah, thanks for having me, everyone. I'm Gary Stotler. I have spent about 20 years working on hydrogen equipment and infrastructure. I was with General Motors for 36 years, and we did hydrogen demonstration fleets. And my job was to put the hydrogen fueling stations in and work on the equipment and that kind of thing. And, one of the, kind of safety messages that I've always brought forward with regard to hydrogen, because it's a fuel, people aren't necessarily used to it, right? But every fuel has energy in it. And so natural gas does, gasoline does, diesel does, hydrogen does. Each one has to be treated and handled according to its specific properties. And hydrogen has some special properties, and there's less experience handling it than some of those other fuels. So one of my most important jobs here is to make sure that we're following industry best practices, that we're utilizing all that experience, not only that we have, but that the entire industry has, to make sure that we're creating safe and effective installations. And one of my roles is I'm a member of the U.S. Department of Energy Hydrogen Safety Panel, which is a group of about 20 industry experts. And it's our job to make sure that the best practices are known and that they're published, and that projects are reviewed by that panel of experts. So one of the key things that we will be doing here as part of our process for developing this project is we will be having that group of industry experts from all over the country review the designs, review the installations, and making sure that we're absolutely dotting the I's and crossing the T's. So I thought it was worth taking a minute to mention that, because sometimes that's a question that people have, because it is something new, but actually there's a lot of experience in industry, and we're really well positioned to take advantage of it. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Okay, so bringing the story here home, how is this important to DeWitt, and what is it that we hope to build here as a partnership? We have been granted, along with National Grid, actually National Grid has been granted by the New York State Public Service Commission as part of their rate case in 2020, an allotment of their funding to go and build this commercial pilot of a hydrogen system. It has several different functions, which span the things we've been talking about tonight: electric vehicles, helping renewables get on the grid in greater number, building out a better heating system that is not as carbon intensive as it is today, so the non-pipes alternative as well as shipping out hydrogen for other industries to use. A lot of forklifts these days are using hydrogen, and this could be a place where they could come get their hydrogen. In the beginning of 2022, the New York State PSC approved this project, which is about a $10 million project. The National Grid will pay for the infrastructure, and Standard Hydrogen will contract with them to operate it after we build it. The clean energy opportunity here is that over a 1-month period, this eliminates the same amount of pollution from our system as an average US driver emits over 100 years. And that happens every month. It started off as a so-called REV demonstration project. This is an initiative by New York State to help revitalize the electric grid and help incorporate new and innovative technologies into that grid. National Grid sees this as delivering 9 different functions across its electric and gas businesses. And what I want to share with this slide is just that it's a very flexible system. Hydrogen, you can think of as almost a chemical form of electricity, and it can do a lot of different things just like electricity can. And National Grid has identified these 9. They've been studied by consultants and gotten a lot of New York State buy-in. And we think that it's the right mechanism to bring hydrogen here to DeWitt. So with this pilot, it's completely paid for by National Grid shareholders and their ratepayers. They will pay for the equipment. They'll also pay for the operating costs during the pilot period, which is a 3-year period. Standard Hydrogen is in position to operate this on behalf of National Grid and for the potential users of the equipment, which we hope will be partially the town of DeWitt. Our ideas, and you can see this mapping now onto some of the concepts I shared earlier, is taking advantage of the unused capacity the town has in your solar array, actually purchasing that power from you so you can put it to economic use for your town. Helping build out some non-wires alternatives at the Carrier Field of Dreams to help power things that you would like to do there, potentially without having to build new substations, new electric wires around that facility. Also having backup power for that facility. And then potentially providing fuel for clean vehicles, of which we've talked to at least one example with the supervisor and with others in the town about some of the heavy duty equipment that the town has, which you have some funding to investigate hydrogen. This project could supply the hydrogen for those vehicles. This is maybe the most exciting slide to me in the deck. So I'm going to spend a minute on this because these aren't our words. These were words that came from the town of DeWitt and were shared with our colleagues at National Grid last summer. As I understand from a colleague of mine, Neil Murphy, who is from SUNY ESF and who I worked with many years ago, there's been an ongoing conversation in DeWitt around hydrogen. And some of those concepts are here on this slide, which we took from that document. So these are all the things we were just talking about. This project can use the PV power that you've installed on your landfill, and you can get paid for that. We will install, as part of this, an electrolyzer, storage tanks, and fuel cells to provide electricity back. And there's a potential to provide hydrogen for town vehicles. We have some requests in order to move this forward. We don't expect to be able to answer these requests tonight, but this is what we'd like to leave you with to think about and to let us know at future time. We could entertain entering into a land lease for a location near Carrier Park that we've discussed to site and operate this facility. We would like to explore purchasing power from the town solar array. And we would work with National Grid and with the town to make sure that that worked out well. We would like to sell back emissions-free everything services, electricity and hydrogen services back to the town along the lines of your goals for electricity and for hydrogen needs. Some of this becomes more of a conversation. We'd like to work with you to design this system so that it meets both National Grid's needs and also ties in well with your hydrogen initiative, both in the short term and then potentially in the long term as well, and stretching out to what goals might be down the road. We would like to use this pilot project to bring to DeWitt and have it be a demonstration, not just for DeWitt, but to be able to bring others and show them the advantages of clean hydrogen and what it can do. And we'd like to discuss then, of course, if it's acceptable, then some administrative support in moving this through the different permitting processes. We have some experience working with authorities having jurisdiction and being able to train first responders and the safety considerations. But it is a first of its kind type of a project in this region, and so we know that the zoning and the permitting will be new. With that, I just really want to thank you for having us come up and talk to you about this. We're here for a while this evening. We're happy to take questions if you have time in your agenda for questions and discussion. But we really appreciate this opportunity and we're super excited about just being able to talk to you about it. And we hope to answer questions going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
As you know, I've been working offline. Thanks, I've done this project, and so we've asked them to come present to the board so that when the start to advance itself, you'll be apprised of the situation, but the types of numbers that I'd asked them to generate for us would be costs associated with the hydrogen. And we've made it clear that the advancement of this project is contingent upon those costs being less than our current fuel costs or equal. So those are the types of numbers and double those in the detail, and I'm going to open it to the board if they have any questions for this group.
I think just a reiteration and clarification, Paul, are we looking as town board or as a community here to help you with those initial costs? Where are those costs coming from for this big project?
The National Grid has received an allocation from New York State to spend its own money on the order of $10 million to install the system for a site host. So there's no costs associated with the project. There are no costs associated with building the project for DeWitt. National Grid is paying for that out of both ratepayer money. There's a small amount of all of our electric bills, as well as their own shareholder, their own investors' money that's going to that. And that's not just bills here in DeWitt, that's the whole state. And I mean, that we can answer more questions about that, or Chris can for us, but.
Yes, you had said that in the beginning, Paul. I was looking at a timeline. How long does a project like this, and like Ed always says, the devil is in the details.
Sure.
But with from what I saw, it started on or about 2021, Chris, if I read that slide correctly.
Please, so yeah.
So when since we're going to be your test town, we're the TT, we're the test town, how long would it take to put up and get a project like that in operation?
I'm going to defer to Gary. My estimate is the 18-month timeline, but I'm going to defer to Gary to make sure I don't get anything wrong.
Yeah, we've taken a look. I mentioned when I spoke a minute ago, the design process. So that's pretty rigorous. That's a 3 or 4 month process. The equipment that Paul mentioned, electrolyzers, fuel cells, stuff like that. When you go and you put a purchase order in for that, you're typically probably around a 12-month lead time to actually get equipment delivered. And then you've got some time to construct things and get them commissioned. So the 18 months is probably a good thing to keep in mind. It could be plus or minus a couple months.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the site design, where's the water source coming from? Having
The water source could be municipal water. We're working with our electrolyzer supplier to see what kind of wastewater could potentially be used in the future. On the order of this scale that we're talking about, it's less than 1,000 gallons per day, which is on the order of a very small hotel, like 30-room kind of hotel. It's on that order. That's if it was running all the time. We don't anticipate that it'll be running all the time in the beginning.
So we won't be utilizing naturally occurring water is going to be piped in from a source.
There's a potential to use, you mean like rainwater, like naturally occurring?
No, a standing body of water, such as in a pond.
No, just municipal water. Yeah, regular piped water.
Thanks for the presentation tonight. There's a company that I've been watching for probably 20 years, Plug Power in Albany, which I know you guys know about.
Yeah.
It seems to me like they've lost a lot of money. They continue to lose a lot of money and they're constantly trying to catch up. So I'm trying to figure out, what does $10 million really get us? What can we get with $10 million realistically?
Sure. Well, one of the things we thought about there, and I'm going to pass it to Bill in a second to talk more about Plug and where they are these days, because my perception is they're doing a lot better than they were 55 years ago. But there's some new results from Plug. But first, I'll share that
They seem to lose about $1 billion at least a quarter. So
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out.
Well, the $10 million essentially donation from National Grid that this would be would allow you to act on the funding that you have from Senator Schumer's office and from the DEC. as I understand it, might allow you to get some vehicles that would operate on fuel cells. This would then access the hydrogen for those vehicles. That would be at least a little bit down the road. That would be one thing you could do with it. The other thing you could do with it would be to sell some more of your power from your solar array into a system that can provide backup power for carrier field, as well as help the expansion around carrier field without having to build out more of the substation there to do that.
I mean, I'm fine with the whole idea. I'm just wondering, I mean, is what happens if after 12 months, you guys say, well, it's really 20 million, maybe it's 25 million to build.
Oh, yeah, no, that's between us and National Grid.
Okay,
So,
okay.
We are not looking to do it for any capital costs. We have a budget for operating it that, that we think is sufficient. And certainly Plug Power is a company that has had its ups and downs, but we are a customer of Plug Power. We are not affiliated with them in any legal way. We are looking to buy their fuel cells, and regardless of their financial performance, which is a matter of public record, their technology has improved, and they've done well with some commercial applications and not as well with others.
No, it seems like exciting stuff. It just seems like it's very capital intensive.
It is, and that's why this program with National Grid is so important, because that's a great investment by National Grid in the work that we're doing, and to bring it forward. And so it's a pilot program. It's not a lab experiment. It is a pilot program to start putting commercial applications together. And it is our hope someday to be one of Plug Power's biggest buyers.
Okay, great stuff. Thank you.
Just a couple other points I'll make. One is that the 3-year window of its operation doesn't start until it's constructed. So it takes 18 months. There's still a 3-year program that will be put in place and financed by National Grid during that time. And the other thing I'll say is that Carrier Corporation, one of the locations that we've selected here is because Carrier is interested in this project as well. It could be a potential client for hydrogen down.
My last comment is neither here nor there, but it's community centric. Once this is up, do you plan to have stationary displays near the structure to outline what's going on so that we can start encouraging consumers to interact with hydrogen and not just look at a box and wonder what it is?
absolutely.
Is that part of it?
That's a huge part of it. I'm really excited about what we're doing, and we think that there's good reason for the community to be excited about it too. But you lose that if you don't tell people what's going on, and that is, that for us, it's not even transparency. The danger of us is if I turn into marketing, we might need really huge signs because we'd like to talk about what we're doing. But we also feel like making sure that the community is educated and engaged. But those are two really important things, in particular for pilot projects.
Thanks, Beth.
One of the long-term goals for hydrogen is actually a solid natural gas, which the state is stepping away from natural gas. And companies like Grid have to face, are they going to transition away from natural gas? Or are they going to shut down the grid system or the infrastructure outright? And in large concentrated urban areas, hydrogen fuels that could ultimately replace natural gas and still get run through the existing piping system that we have in place.
And excuse me, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Cooper, and I'm a consumer of a lot of electricity.
Aren't we all?
Yes, and on my bill, they constantly go up. All right, and then they have where they didn't let the company, the Public Service Commission didn't allow them to increase National Grid's rates. So one thing I want to know, where are you guys actually located? Do you have a building in our facility, in our community, or are you from another part of the area in New York State?
We do not have a building in this area at this point. I grew up in this area, went to high school over at CBA.
Okay, right down the street from where I live.
Okay, great. Go Brothers. Actually, no, go Golden Tornadoes now. Sorry, showing my age. So we are not part of we don't set the rates. And electricity rates going up, that's certainly something everybody's noticed. But this is hopefully a way to make better use of our natural resources, to make better use of the renewable assets that we already have.
And I did read the article and everyone is in our town book that they came out. So my other question is, I'm a union person and I worked in construction. Are there going to be any jobs available for our community in this project?
Yes. In order to build the facility, we're gonna need electricians, we're gonna need plumbers. This first project isn't gonna be huge on its own.
Okay,
But as we start building, the objective here is not to build one, the objective here is to build many. And so that is very much part of our plan.
thank you.
Very well.
Yes. We'll open it to the audience, so state your name.
Mike. What's your return on investment for National Grid if you guys are next? But after the 3-year pilot's up and everybody's done what they've done, where is your income coming from? What are you planning on gaining from it?
Yeah, we had earlier on one of the slides that Navigant was the consulting group has studied the project from an economic perspective.
Has this been done anywhere else? Is the first time?
This will be the first time of this implementation, but the technology, standalone fuel cells are out there, electrolyzers are out there. This is the first time they've been put together for this purpose.
So how do you make money?
So the slide that we shared earlier is showing that we can deliver integrating renewables.
Right. How do you make money?
All those boxes down there, all those functions are revenues for the company.
To National Grid, and you got it?
Those are payments into the project, which will get shared between National Grid and us. After 3 years, it's not expected that the capital will be paid back. If the project is to continue, it will either continue as a partnership between National Grid and Standard Hydrogen, or it might just be Standard Hydrogen by ourselves. If the town really hates it after 3 years, we pick it up and take it away. I don't know if that answered your question, but.
I was just wanting to see long term, what your long term goal is, $10 million up front down the road. Where's the return on investment you're looking at? Because somewhere along the line, someone's putting up $12 million and supposed to make money on this eventually, especially coming off of our bills going up. So I'm just wanting to know where that end result is going to go.
Sure. First of all, there's many different answers to that. I'm gonna let Gary take it.
I can't deal with it if it's too complicated, so I like to simplify, right? You're gonna sell two things out of this. You're gonna sell electricity and you're gonna sell hydrogen. And the intention, the business model and the thing that makes it pay a return on investment is that you can sell those things for more than people could get them on other places. Now, it actually turns around a little bit, particularly when you're selling electricity, because you're actually trying to provide an alternative where, hey, I can make electricity and sell it to you out of this facility cheaper than you can buy it on the wholesale market, which is where National Grid buys it, in times of peak demand, for example. So, I mean, you could spend hours and hours talking about that, but that's kind of how it works with electricity. You want to be the person who made it when it was cheap and sold it when it was expensive. And that's the money-making part of that. Now, hydrogen is a fuel. And like the supervisor said, it may go into a natural gas line, it might go into a vehicle, it might go into forklifts. There's all kinds of places to sell hydrogen, right? So those are your two products. And what Paul mentioned here is simply that, we have 5 shown here and actually 9 that we're tracking, places that you can sell those two products. And that's how it makes it.
We actually have a company in Raymond Corporation on Kirkville Road. They have another facility over at the New Venture Gear site that makes hydrogen forklifts. They're a subsidiary of Toyota. So right now, there's not a large market. If you go to the Amazon facility in Clay, they're using diesel forklifts.
So I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying, so the market is.
Right, but you're looking down the road when we go away to like hydrogen plus the city, or you start seeing bigger need for hydrogen. You're looking at the fact that you can have a facility like this that can support not only DeWitt, but all of Syracuse vehicles.
And the thing to do is
increase from there.
Excuse me. Yeah, the thing to do is to produce it locally, right? Because then you don't have to give it a truck ride, which just adds to the cost, right? So that's one
You
of
don't have
the,
to ship it.
yeah, this is one of the things that makes this a very attractive way to do what you just described.
What would the current would the price point be between like the current gas and electric rates versus the electric for the hydrogen and the hydrogen itself? I mean, anticipating that.
In terms of this facility will have to operate on the same rates as any other facility in the neighborhood. So whatever carrier field is paying for electricity today, this will pay those rates for that electricity. Now, there's a caveat there that we might be able to purchase solar from the town, so that would change that a little bit. If that's not something that we can negotiate with the town and figure out how to make more use of that solar, then it's paying the same exact rates as any other national grid rates. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. We bought actually all kind of same, our energy delivery costs going up exponentially more than what our usage is. We're all cutting back on usage, but our delivery costs are going sky high. I mean, I know the last several months I've been paying more in delivery than usage. I mean, is that gonna be affected by National Grid? This is all gotta go to their line, right?
The reason New York State likes this project is that by having more storage on the grid, it should drive the overall cost of the grid down. That's on a really macro scale. I can't say that one project is going to decrease your bill.
Right.
But on a macro scale, if the state continues to move towards storage and distributed generation and solar and wind, those should be cost-effective ways to lower the overall expense of it. So that's why New York State likes it and also why National Grid likes it. Want to add anything? I don't know if you want to, okay. Sure.
Lori, this is probably an ignorant question, but so if all this hydrogen is stored somewhere in cells or whatever, is it any more or less security wise dangerous in that storage? You know how people hack the grids and stuff like that and shut things down and people have gas explosions. Is hydrogen factor of security for those kinds of safety things any different than, more so? What's in my head is way back to the old original hydrogen bombs and stuff, and I think about these gas explosions in huge buildings right now. You know, when there's a leak.
Yeah, my experience, I'm going to say it's safer then because of all the instrumentation that goes into it, but I'm going to defer to Gary for some more detail.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. And like I said earlier, every fuel has energy. And if you do the wrong thing, you mentioned natural gas explosions, right? So there's a tremendous amount of knowledge and technology, but behind storing hydrogen safely, it's stored as a pressurized gas in cylinders. I'm sure you've seen it going down the road in a truck, most likely. And so some of the safety precautions are the same as some other fuels, and some of them I would say are more secure than other fuels, right? I mean, obviously you've got to prevent it from leaking out. You've got to prevent there from being things that can cause it to be ignited, that kind of thing. So, I wouldn't pretend there's zero risk. We all need energy and all those energy sources have risks. My personal experience and my understanding of this from many years of working on it is that these type of installations are going to be very, very safe, if not more safe than other types, because they do have more security features than, for example, a propane tank installation.
There are about 10,000 hydrogen cars already on the road in California. And about 50 hydrogen stations all around the state that get used every day by those hydrogen cars. So just to let you know, this isn't new. It's just not here on the East Coast yet.
Any other questions? On the board, from the audience? Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for having us. Thanks very much.
Thanks for your time.
Okay, Council Mannion, the assessment discussion to the floor. Peter, I apologize, but.
Okay, well, good evening. Thanks everyone for coming. We do have it on the agenda to discuss tonight. And first off, as a board, I think we've done a really good job the last 3 or 4 years getting through inflation and COVID and really keeping our budget down as much as possible. In February 13th to be exact, we had a meeting where we discussed assessments and our assessor was here. And at that point, I made it pretty clear that I did not want to have a broad assessment increase as the assessor had done for the previous 2 years. And we had a lengthy discussion at the board meeting. While assessments increasing, and obviously our tax rate per thousand would go down, I just didn't think that we needed to increase the assessments any more than we have. Interest rates have doubled in the past year. I think our property prices are probably going to level out. And I'm of the opinion if we can do it, I would like to rescind and roll back the assessments that our assessor sent out, because I thought he was going to come to the board prior to sending out his assessment increases. So I am of the mindset, and we can have a board discussion about it, but we're a small portion of your tax bill. School is 50%. The county is about 35%, and the town is 12 to 15%. But again, I am not in favor of what the assessor did, and I will leave it at that and let the other board members speak to mine.
Well, I would say I agree with everything that Carrie said, and I remember listening in on that meeting, because at the time I was zooming in, and he did speak to that very freely to the assessor at the time, and said at this time we don't think that we should be doing any increasing of the assessments, and I agree 100% with that.
Yeah, I guess it's my turn, and then I'm gonna open it to the audience or other board members first. So you'll get your opportunity. What I did pass on a bunch of materials to the board once Council Mannion asked to put this on the agenda. And didn't organize my thoughts, so if I'll try to do as best I can as succinctly as possible. But it's my understanding that this board has authority in setting different assessment rates for the entire time that I've been involved in politics. The town of DeWitt has been based on 100% of an assessment. So what your property is assessed at is what it should sell for. And it's easy for a homeowner to understand what their assessment is because they can equate that value. Once you get away from 100%, whether it's 75 or 80%, and I have the list of the other towns throughout the county. There's a few of us left that are still at 100%. But I did a conversation with the county and looked at the school district's budgets and saw it as well. And I will emphatically insist that there is no dollar savings in going and falling away from 100% assessment. There's a term that's called an equalization rate. And it is the job of our assessor to make sure that the relative proportion of the assessment between the different neighborhoods is accurate. So you have a high-end neighborhood and houses are selling for $500,000 and above, whether that's at 100% or whether that's at 50%. The proportion of the assessment to those homes, or the valuation of those homes, has to be in accordance with the rest of the town. So if you have a neighborhood that's selling 50% less than the high-end neighborhood, or you have a low-end neighborhood selling whatever the proportion is, the assessor is responsible for maintaining equal and fair assessment amongst those properties. Now, the town has been at 100%, so when you get a tax rate from the town, you take that rate and you apply it to your assessment, and you get the dollar value that the town assesses you. So you're paying roughly 15 cents on every dollar that you pay in property tax to the town. But when you pay your school district tax or your county tax, if you're not at 100%, they apply what's called the equalization rate. So I know my parents, for example, live in the town of Lafayette. they pay 25% more of a higher Jamesville DeWitt school tax than I do in my house, because the town of DeWitt's at 100%, the town of Lafayette's at 75%. So the school district applies an additional 25% on its tax rate to the residents of Lafayette inside the JD school district. So a lower assessment isn't saving any money if you avoid the 100%. What's really critical again is that proportion. Yeah, all that neighborhood houses are selling for 150,000. That 150,000 is relevant to the house that's selling for 450. There's a 3 times a factor of 3 difference in total taxes paid between those houses. So again, this board chose in its February 13th meeting to stick with the 100%. And we can have the conversation. It's really up to the government entities in establishing their budgets to ensure that your budget is not increased. So for 15 years, the town of DeWitt never had a tax increase of 2%. Last year, based on COVID, 80% of our costs are labor related. The budget committees put together a budget that increased the budget by about 4%. And we had to avoid an exchange back and forth. Biggest increase in that 4% was policing. We have a police force of 45 officers, and we came to the conclusion that that 4% increase was justified because we felt the town supported its police department. To move away from that, go back under 2% to hold the budget for people in that cost of our office. So our police staffing were dropped at a time when coming out of COVID and everything, crime was on a slight increase. So in my final comment is Central New York. And many of the throughway communities have not had any increase in equity for almost my entire adult lifetime. If you bought a house for $100,000 or $250,000 or $500,000 10, 20 years ago, we did not improve a lot of equity. For retirees that leave Central New York, say they go to South Carolina, or Florida, they go to buy a home. The person that lives next door to them came from Boston or downstate or came from Midwest or St. Louis. Those individuals over the course of their lifetime doubled, tripled the values of their houses, and they came down with equity. The phenomenon that you're seeing, my opinion will get you in 50 cents, will get you a quarter cup of coffee. Central New York is finally experiencing equity in its property value assessments. The homes that are selling at higher prices than our assessor is based on those homes. If you think that your house is not worth the value that it's been assessed in, and there is due process for you to go the assessor first needs to complicated and negotiate, compare your property to other properties in the area, make the claim that your property is overvalued in his estimation. And then secondly, if you're not happy with his decision, you have what's called the Board of Assessment. That is a collection of private citizens such as yourself, many in the real estate market, real estate field that understand valuation, and they have often overruled the assessor and lowered the assessment of your home or your property. So I, for one, stand in front of you and say I am all in favor of maintaining the 100% assessment. I don't think it's going to save you anything. It will mask the increases in the budgets that come from your school district, your county, and your town in the future, because you won't be seeing an assessment raise. your property will be assessed at some proportion of what it's worth, and we can continue to maintain that proportion. And what likely will happen is your tax rates will continue to rise at a level that you don't understand because you didn't see the proportion of the increase in your property value assessment. So I'm done. I'm going to open it to the other board members. I'm more than happy to open it to the audience. And you can speak as many times as you want. And just please keep your comments civil and keep it directed to this board. What we can't have is argument or discussion and disagreement amongst audience participants.
So one thing I would just say as something that I didn't understand before getting on the board and really sitting down and talking with the assessor is that New York State tells him how much the property in DeWitt will have gone up. It gives him an area, a number that he should go to. So even if the board tells the assessor not to raise it this year, New York State will say, well, property values in DeWitt went up, 10%. So that's where they get that equalization rate. New York State will say, your property values, even though your assessments didn't go up, the property values went up. So that will create an equalization rate of 75, 80, 90% or whatever, and then just multiply what the assessments are to create new values at 100%. And that's what they base the taxes off. So from my understanding, from talking to the assessor, from looking into it, is that what Ed says is right. Changing the assessment doesn't save any money because New York State comes in and basically fixes it so that it's what they think the value is over time. And Syracuse.com put out, to thinking about what the values are. I don't know. I'm not in real estate. I do pay attention to what houses sell at. I did see an article in Syracuse.com today. They put out home sales in this point of the year of 2023 versus home sales up to this point of the year in 2022 in the town of DeWitt. The median sale price has gone up another 9% over last year. I think New York State's going to look at that and say, okay, well, if we don't change the assessments, they're going to say your home values went up at least 10%. And, so after the equalization rate, it'll be where it was over the 100%.
That's why equalization, equal. There's also a website that New York State has through the Department of Taxation and Finance. And for those of us who are not math majors, it breaks it down and it gives examples so that you can see the balancing act among the assessment, the municipal taxes, such as they are the county tax, and the school districts levying also, and they will show you that. It's obvious. It's a www.tax.newyork.gov. And that will get you to the Department of Taxation and Finance. And thank you to our town attorney who researched it and found this website to make it easier for all of us, because yes, we're town of DeWitt residents, and yes, our assessments went up as well. But there's the balancing act that's integral to the equalization rate. And that's why we have the 100% across the board versus how the town of Lafayette and other towns in our area do their assessment percentages.
The only other thing I say is at some point in time, if you fall away from the 100%, it is extremely costly to come back. We're at 100%, which the state encourages. There's a number of other municipalities still at 100% because it seems to be dwindling. Once you fall away, it costs millions of dollars to come back in, and the property is reassessed. Right, back to 100%. So we're there now. It's a difficult process, and the real key to controlling your taxes comes in the budgetary process that we set. So as a township, We committed for 15 years, the average growth in our town budget was 1.5%. Last year, coming out of COVID, a significant increase. It was mainly attributable to our police department. And we chose to maintain it at a staffing level equivalent to years prior. Yeah, those kinds of decisions are still on the table.
Can I ask some background questions that might help set the stage for some folks? So prior to COVID, how frequently were we doing assessments on housing? Because I think COVID's like a black hole for a lot of folks. They don't realize that we weren't doing assessments there. They were routinely done prior.
Every year.
Every year. And then this year, so coming out of COVID, when did they pick back up again routinely?
Again, we were doing it through I don't, many of these people are in the same position I am.
Right.
I've had my property, I have 2 properties in the town of DeWitt, and each one has increased by nearly 50% in the last 4 or 5 years, right? I've been hit with a 10, 12, 20, 15% increase year after year. But I do understand the budgetary process, and that was why we worked hard to keep it at 0.5% on our budget. Now, granted, we're only 15 cents on your dollar. So 35 cents on every dollar you pay in property taxes go into the county. Another 50 cents would probably go into the school district. So those are where the lion's share of your property taxes go. And it's up to those entities as well to maintain their budgets in the growth pattern. I can speak from the town's perspective. Again, 80% of our costs are the pension cost, health insurance, and all the things that go into employing a person. And we have a police force, we have a highway department, we plow your snow, we have staff that maintains this building. We have a recreation department, a park department. So we have about 7 or 8 different departments, 135 employees. And we have a budget that is largely dependent on those people. So when we talk budget cuts, we're talking personnel.
I'd like to talk. My house went up $38,000 last year and $20,000 this year. I have a ranch in Franklin Park that I've been in 40 years. And the letter that I got, which all of you probably got, said the same thing. A change in your property assessment does not necessarily indicate your taxes will change.
Yeah.
That is terrible. That is atrocious. My taxes went up $800 last year, and they're gonna go up another whatever 100 this year. So I think that is ridiculous to put that kind of a note in the to the taxpayers. When it's insulting. It's insulting. That's my point. It's insulting. It was insulting to me. By the town board and they're telling me this.
New York State.
Wait a minute. Let me finish. You have your chance. That's insulting to me. My house going up $58,000. I have a ranch in Franklin Park. It's a nice house, but should not be going up like that. And I'm a senior like a whole lot of your people are. And I don't think that it should have been, that sentence should be in there. It's insulting to you, to me, insulting to you. And I don't think we should be, I think we should be rescinding the assessments.
Mike has a question.
Please. Actually, I think the gentleman. Okay.
Yeah, my name's Rick Gomes. 2 days after or a couple days before I got the letter, when I found out how much my taxes were going up, I came in and I spoke to the assessor, who doesn't live in the town of DeWitt, who doesn't live in the county of Onondaga. And I was pretty much summarily blown off. And it's basically, that's what it is, and that's what we're gonna have to pay. My assessment in the last 4 years is in a little house over there by Carrier Field has gone up 45% in value is what it says. I'll be darned if I would be able to get that money out of that house right now. Nobody's ever seen my house. Nobody's seen the neighbor's house. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of common sense. And you can't blame it all on labor costs. Everybody's labor costs is going up. I mean, you're trying to hire people right now. There's other things in budget, there's other things in the budget that can be looked at and they can be cut, they can be trimmed. Whether it's town budget, school budgets, can't really do much with the highway department. They're about the most efficient working bunch of guys I've seen. Other than that, it doesn't make any sense for every single year. You don't take the peaks and valleys out when you just every year summarily increase it. 3 to 5 years, reassess, yes. Every year, that's not a good thing to do.
This board has the power of appointment of an assessor. This board does not have any authority to tell the assessor how to assess properties or what to do. What we do have is, again, the power of appointment. And the other thing that we can do is determine that we do not want to be at 100%. Council Manion's made it clear he wants to be, which doesn't forward. As far as budgetary control goes, again, your taxes, like the councilor doing anything, your taxes would not increase at all if the budget remained the same, no matter what your assessment. If you kept your assessment constant, or you increased it 30%, and we kept the budget the same, you shouldn't pay any more out of the way or any other entity.
You shouldn't, but you did. I paid $800 more.
We all pay more. Everybody's paying.
You sat on the budget committee.
Yeah.
And I argued with you over the increases that you approved.
What we'd like to know is, you do have the power.
Mike is.
There's a man in the back. that's-
Oh, I didn't see it.
I apologize.
Didn't see it.
Go ahead, sorry.
We all understand, right, that this is New York State inflation, that this is inflating costs. New York State is inflating the value of all this stuff straight,
Right.
same as they're inflating the cost of rental. This is capitalism at its best from New York State. The value of the houses have not, the value of building the house that we had has not gone anymore. It's inflated. So all of a sudden, New York State's inflating the cost of our homes, which in turn makes them be able to increase the taxes, which in turn makes all of our pay more taxes, right? And New York State's inflating the cost of things, but our paychecks have not been inflated along with the inflation of that stuff. And so I understand your point. I understand the board's point. I understand what you're trying to say is 100%. That's clear as day. Understand. But you have to understand on this side of it.
I do.
When we, and I understand because you just said you own 2 properties. That's great. And I understand you're seeing it. But we all have to, we have to be able to see the whole, what this really truly is. This is a money grab.
Well, for everyone, my response to both the last 2 speakers from the audience is that
I'm not trying
you have a
to,
legal.
I'm just looking at it in the holistic point of view.
I
And this is New York State money grab.
I encourage you, if you believe, just like the former speaker, that if your house is not worth what it says that.
It was worth what we bought it.
Not get it in the sale. If you can't get what the assessor has set the value of your house for in a sale, you should be able to prove that to the Board of Assessment Review. And I'm
okay with that.
And I believe they will lower your assessment accordingly.
Okay, well, so here's my second question. So, and this is just 2 parts. So since 2 out of the 8 that I see 9 here disagree with the assessor thing that you did not agree with yourself, how did, if 2 out of this group disagreed with the assessor doing his job the way he did, how did it continue if you were all in agreement, maybe you weren't? Was there a disagreement on the assessor, or do you not have control over the assessor to say yes or no? Did he just go ahead and do it anyway? When you did
This board agreed on February 13th, maintaining the 100% valuation.
Okay,
We have no control over the specifics that are done. And I personally, I'm gonna say it right now, in disagreement with two counselors here feel that our assessor does a very good job.
Yeah, I just, if he does a good job,
Proportion between the neighborhood.
he's just trying to figure out if there was someone that said, okay, maybe he's just went ahead and did what he needed to do, no matter if you agreed with him or not.
And it's inflated because we didn't do anything more to the house since we bought it. So I can understand, you know, if you're building on, if you're doing something dramatic. But hardworking people going to work every day, trying to make a living, and every year you're inflating the cost of the house, and it's coming out of paychecks that are not going up. And how do you expect people to
Understood.
understood?
This summer program is.
I believe it is my turn now. I've been waiting and waiting and had my hand up. And a while ago, I bought my house, it was 110,000. Over the years, it gets raised a few thousand. I understand that. But in 2021, it got raised 49,600. It had been 156,300. It went up to 205,900. So I had a 33% raise in assessment. That isn't fair and it isn't equitable. I don't live in a rich section. It's lovely. I love my neighborhood, but it's not worth tons of money. So I filed a complaint. I went through the computer. I went to the sites and I did all the houses. Nobody got a raise like I did. And most of the houses were worth less than mine, even if they were bigger. I live in a raised ranch. A lot of houses that were bigger and nicer and not older, and they weren't rated. I don't see changing the 100% to 75% as being of any value. I just see that this is not equitable and not right. Now this year they raised me again. It didn't used to happen. I've been in my house a long time. I didn't get raises every single year. So last year they raised me 49,600, and this year they raised me again 18,500. What do you think? My house is sprouting diamonds? Not anything. I mean, I keep it up nice.
Have you been to the Board of Assessment review?
I filed this thing with, and I looked at a lot of houses in my neighborhood that was denied. So,
And
they didn't even give me a good reason for denying it.
well, most of it is home sales. Again,
Which is my point exactly, is it's inflated. All of these costs and all of this added to people is inflated costs. This is all it is. It is a true state money grab. To someone who's automatically, her value of her house went up 50,000 plus. It's a money grab. That's all it is. This is inflated pricing. The same as people are inflating pricing of rentals. And I don't mean to be mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but we have to see it what it truly is. And it's not fair to people who are retired, who are on a pension, who's been living in a house for, I'm just using it as one.
Understood, but the only thing your appeal to this board can do is result in one of two things. We can lower the 100%. If we want to go with the lower percentage, that's for.
So which one? The other thing this board can do is this board could look for a different assessment.
But other than that, we have no authority over those numbers, Paula.
I volunteer for the assessor.
I'm gonna defend the current assessment.
Let's not blame the resident so much because
Why not?
This is a point of contention. We're not trying to find safety. What we're trying to do is trying to find longevity. We're trying to determine what can you do as a board. On our perspective, where is your power held? And if the assessor that we have, as nice as the guy could be, and I don't know, I'm not judging the man. But if he is knows that things are inflated and he's still doing it, even though the board turns around and said, hey, we don't agree with this, but he does it anyway. Your power is now lost.
Again,
So I'm just trying to figure out where that
based
goes.
on the home sales that I have seen, he typically maintains an assessment a little bit below what the going neighborhood is.
Okay.
Well, the 10 years, the 15 years that I've been as the supervisor, he attempts to stay below.
Okay.
That, and so when the board of assessment review has reversed some of his decisions, that's why I'm encouraging. I know people that have taken their comparables, you compare similar houses, similar designs, similar age, lot sizes and neighborhoods.
But she didn't put $60,000 into her house. Where's that $60,000 being
It's stolen because their neighbors have sold comparable houses for.
which is all inflated based on inflated price of the home.
And it's the sales that determine the value.
Right,
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, but it's.
He's had a lot of time, other people.
His shirt, I'm sorry.
He's been
The
waiting.
blue shirt, yes.
Got a few questions. I have gone, I've never been to a board meeting, so, but to get me out to actually participate in one, it took this. Because after 4 years, I've lived here 20 years, I'm a retired teacher. I'm on retirement, just a fixed income, which is fine. Our property values is a good thing, they're going up, that's fine. Our problem is with wanting to stay in your house. With that property value going up, you are all forcing us with a higher tax rate basis out of the district.
Yeah.
How many know we lost a congressional seat in New York State? Did we not?
Yes.
We could have lost 2. But the numbers were kind of fudged down in New York City. But they was proposed to be losing 2 seats. They're not leaving the state because of better weather. They're leaving the state, number 1, number 2, and number 3 reasons when they were asked was taxes, and high inflation costs, or the high cost of living in New York. That's a problem. It's a problem here in DeWitt, because the retired people and the low income people can't. What do you want us to do? Would you rather have us eat or pay tax? Have you been to the grocery store lately?
Absolutely. The median income in Onondaga County for a single salary is under 40,000.
Yeah,
So that
no.
means.
And so I called
I agree
called
with
the
you in
state.
terms of what
I
you're
called
saying.
the state, the governor's office, and boy, it took me forever to get to the person. And they did say that they do not require municipalities to assess us every year. They said you can wait 3 to 5 years. All they're doing is they want a fair evaluation of every piece of property. So I'm coming asking the question, why assess us every year? Give the market a chance to stabilize itself on the ups and downs. Don't tax us every year because you're gonna get more and more of us coming.
It's likely if you skip the year, it would be greater.
You don't know that. You don't know that. Now, 3 of our neighboring counties have gone to 3 years. 1 has gone to 5 years. I'm just saying what other counties are doing. Why can't we try it? But last 4 years, I've been raised almost 79,000. This year was 43,400. Last year was 29,900. The year before that was 17,600. I've grieved every year. The assessment has been very nice. I applaud him to take the crap that he's been having to take every 15 minutes, nonstop. And he does reduce it. Or he tries to reduce it. I come in with all my tax, with all my neighbors. I pull everybody's and see what they're assessed at, property value, square footage and everything like that. And this is what I'm coming up with. I'm asking you all, let's try not to assess everybody for 1, 2 years and see how it goes. Last 4 years, our tax, and I agree with you, you're only a small percentage of our tax. But when you add that percentage and the school percentage along with the other percentages, all accumulates. Our wages didn't go up that.
Understood. The STAR program is
And that's being declined.
our state's equivalent of a homestead.
Yeah, but that's also being, and because they come out.
I'm just saying, if said you're a retiree on a fixed income, hopefully you've enrolled in the STAR.
And but that's being cut back because if we actually, like I've got a part-time job now. To help with the cost of living at 65. Got a pension. Now I'm being hammered, start the program saying, you're making too much.
That's right.
Making too much because I'm eating? Because you want to eat. You damn if you don't. So so the STAR program cut me. So they don't want me to work, yet the employers want me to work because the seniors are the only ones showing up for work.
Amen.
I live up on Standish Drive on 507, but in a stone's throw, I can be in the city. To a property exactly the same, a lot less tax. Yeah, and also, if they happen to put out a mattress or a little bit more garbage, they're taking it. We take it. I put out a 2x4. They left it in my yard. They said because we don't take those. Yet I paid the taxes that we pay, and they won't even take a 2x4 that I had in my car, my garage. Come on. You have the power. That's what we're here asking you. Give us some help. Please.
And the gray shirt, and then Miss Weiner is next.
I have just a couple quick questions.
That gentleman was next, and Lois Weiner is next, after this gentleman. Now it's the man behind me.
I'm going. You're going. And yeah.
Stand up there, young
Your name?
fella.
Nick.
Hi,
Hey,
Nick.
Nick.
So, I also met with the assessor Friday.
We're doing.
He's not here.
No.
No. Is he invited to the meeting?
No,
Why?
this is a board discussion. And
He told me that his hands were essentially tied by the board.
Exactly.
Because of the 100% equalization rate. You're saying that your hands are tied because he just did all these reassessments and you can't do anything about it. So
I really admit, I fully support 100% assessment.
Yeah, you've done that already. What do you-
Mike, I want to hear the rest of what Nick is saying.
But it sounds like there was some disagreement among the board members about whether there should be any reassessment in all this year. So how would there have been no assessment changes if you voted for 100%?
There would have been no changes in the process at all. Al would have reassessed based on proportion among the neighborhoods. He would have then determined some percentage of that. So let's say your property or your neighborhood increased multiple digits. And we chose only to go to a 90%. You would have still received the difference between the multiple digits in terms of an increased assessment and the 90% number. The board determines the percentage that the assessor goes out and tries to achieve.
Board members stated early on that they thought these recent adjustments should hold back. So.
They wanted to roll back on 100%. So let's say, let's just use round numbers. Your house is worth
Wait,
200,000.
you guys voted on this. That's this.
What?
He's hang on, Jerry, he's asking the question. Yes, Nick?
I mean, Nick is, I mean, I'm one of the ones that wants to roll it back. I mean, the reality is that it would take the state a year or 2 or 3 or 4 to say we're not at 100%. We haven't been at 100% for probably the past 5 years. I think Al Kerr, our assessor, who is a very good assessor, he's very smart, he's very good at his job. I have no complaints about Al Kerr. I would hope he stays for another 5-6 years. This is a theoretical issue that we're talking about tonight because property values. I mean, we have $3 billion of assessed properties in the town of DeWitt. Is it 3.2? Is it 2.8? Is it 3.5? No one can tell you exactly what it is. I was of the opinion, and I said it at the February 13th meeting, that I know we've had some significant increases in assessments for the past couple of years. I know that our general constituents have had about enough of raising it. And I just thought it would be a good idea to take a break, let the market catch up. And kind of stick to the 3.1 billion, the 3.2 billion, 3.3 billion. I know we're gonna have some decent appreciation in our commercial property values over this year. So I know that our assessed value will be fairly robust again at the end, as we put together our 2024 budget. But it's a theoretical question. Nobody can tell anybody of the 9,000 parcels, 10,000 parcels that are in the town of DeWitt exactly what they're worth on any given day. So it's a rolling number. But my feeling is, I think we'll be at 100% if we don't do the residential increases that we've sent out. But again, it's do we do 5% this year? Do we do that 5% again next year? I don't know what the general public wants. I just think it would have been a really good idea this year to take a step back, leave them flat, because everybody's gotten very big increases. And
Who overrode that decision?
the board, I mean, we had a discussion on February 13th.
So who overrode that?
I don't think anybody agreed with me at that meeting.
So everybody here besides you and Mr. Okay, just Mr. Seth.
Oh, Mr. Dooling was not at that meeting, but he did listen in.
Okay, I'm just wondering how.
I really admitted it for you. I'm in support of the 100%.
But have you given it the other thing? Have you given a chance to the other?
Not to make an action on the February 13th discussion. There was no action made, and I'm not sure if.
So two people that said.
All we chose.
Okay.
Al would have still went through the town and done his job, no matter what this board decided. What this board could only decide is what percentage Al's job is made. So if your house went up $50,000 and we made a decision to do 10%, and your house was 100,000 prior assessment, it was still would have went up to 140 or 135.
So your power is determining just the percentage, that's it.
That's it.
So you have the power.
The power
To go 2 years, 3 years.
No, that's, again, it's a function of the assessors. There are neighborhoods that probably have not been done every year.
In New York State, according to New York State, the board, the municipality, you have the right or have the power to tell the assessor, we're not going to assess only every 3 years.
That's correct.
Why don't you do that?
Because the rates at which they've been climbing based on sales.
They've been too great. But again, yeah, because you guys you're up there rubbing your hands saying, oh, I'm going to get more income, more federal, more taxes. You're up there like this because if we assess you every year and your assessment's going up every year, you're going to get more tax dollars. Money, true? Even though it's a small percentage, your percentage is still going to get more.
And the tax rate is gonna
But
determine.
it's still going to get more because you've assessed it higher. If you gave us a break for 3 years, let us eat,
If you look at our total budget number.
and maybe then it would stabilize.
But for 15 years now, our total budget numbers have risen 1.5%. It has nothing to do with the tax rate or the
But the other
assessment.
taxes involved does, it all is a part, school, all that. It all has it on your assessment.
Correct.
So.
But I don't have any authority over the
You
school.
just answered my question.
I don't have.
You can, by giving us a break on our assessment. Every 3 years, say,
And that,
instead of every year.
and then you'll get a constant shock every 3 years.
You don't know that.
Shock every year.
You don't know that.
Shock every year. I'm getting a shock every year.
I get a shock every year.
You go to the assessor, you do.
Don't that, it's inflated, especially it could stabilize. The market goes up and down. Property values go up and down.
Property values in central New York are undervalued and have been historically. We haven't grown in 50 years. You go to Boston and buy the same house that you buy.
You're using it.
Again, Your experience with our assessment. You're experiencing a rapid increase in property values as a result of a failure to grow over the last.
I think by the show of hands, by your just the board members, by the show of hands.
Yeah.
Would you be open for a discussion on assessing every 3 years?
I'd be open to that discussion.
But you're saying no.
We did.
I said no February 13th. I would be open to that discussion, but I'm not gonna change my position tonight.
Of course, it's already done. Yeah.
It's already done. 24.
Can we come next time? Can we say, let's do it every 3 years?
Talk about that.
We can talk about it. I can.
By the tone of your voice, you're not gonna agree to it. I can tell.
You're absolutely right. I don't agree to not changing the assessment as property values grow.
So basically,
What
they're
about when
only.
they go down?
Lois.
If they go down, they go down.
Will the assessment go down?
They've never gone down in 50 years, I've been in my home 40 years.
This woman's been waiting.
Property values.
This lady's been waiting.
Thanks, Lois Weaver. My point was actually taken by this gentleman. It seems that a great deal of the anger is because it is assessed every year.
Right.
I really think that the board should very seriously consider
Yes.
perhaps making it every 3 years. But not every year, because many counties apparently don't do it every
Okay.
year.
3 of our neighbors.
Why did you decide to do it every year? And is that your decision? And if it is the decision of the board, I think you should really seriously consider changing.
Not even I can consider rotating neighborhoods on every 2 years, but I wouldn't be to say the whole town sitting like for 2 years. And the third year, everybody has a huge.
Then do 1/3 then do 1/3 of the town.
That
every
is the
year.
point.
I mean, there are ways of doing that.
You're absolutely correct.
But you see the sticker shock we are facing every year.
I understand.
But you understand, but you're not doing nothing about it.
It's not true. I held the budget under 1.5% increase for.
Last year was 4.
Again.
Last year was 4.
Budget committee to do it again next year.
I'm just saying, you gotta feel our pain.
Understood.
Rick has been waiting, Ed. Rick? You've been waiting.
And then we'll get the.
I just want to say I understand everything. I have more of an understanding. I would just like to echo the consensus of perhaps doing an every 3-year assessment because property values never go down. Seems like, but also with the grievance process, my experience, just so you know, we've had neighbors say, oh my gosh, they just grieve every year. I mean, it seems like it's like loosey goosey. It's like, oh, I'm gonna go take some bad pictures. I'm gonna show up and bat my eyelashes. Take it down my neighbor. That's every year. She said, oh, just do that this year. He did grieve last year. He did cut it. So we were glad about that. But we didn't do all the work that some people did and then didn't get it. So it seems like it's an imbalance of like some people get it cut and some people don't. So I guess maybe looking at that process as well, because it seems like whoever has time to do something, whoever can get photos printed, whoever can set it up, whoever maybe like gets the attention of the assessor. So just wanted to put that out there that it might not be equal and that I would support a flat. So that's my comment.
So is it that you can override the vote of the supervisor can override the board vote?
Absolutely not.
So if all our board members say every 3 years, they can override you?
Absolutely.
That's hard to these guys.
No.
Let's these guys.
Anna, you've been waiting.
Yeah,
I just stand up and talk. So we can hear you.
So you say you maintain a budget of 1.5%, right? And the letter claims that this is just an assessment of our property, but our taxes will not go up. So what I understand is that as long as you maintain your budget, our taxes won't go up. Which therefore, if you just said you've maintained that budget, how many years now?
50,
Why are taxes going up?
because only 15% of that tax budget is controlled by the town. There's a 35, for every dollar you put, for every dollar that you pay in property tax, 35 cents goes down and off account. 50 cents goes to the school district. So the school district budget goes up at a greater percentage than 1.5%.
So every year we vote for a school budget. I am a single mom, 4 kids, and I lived in my house for 23 years. I've actually lived on that street since I was 12, and I won't say how old I am now. But I don't get it. My taxes have doubled. And I just went around all my neighbors tonight, and everybody's taxes went up this year. Mine 16, the neighbor across the street 18, the lady on the corner 20. Doesn't make sense. I have done nothing to my house except change my window and change my front door because it was rotted. So please tell me how it's justified that my lot, which is twice the size of my neighbor's, only went up 16, and yet theirs, which is mine, went up 20. Do you understand the inconsistency that we're all facing here? This is all we're saying. We're not saying that it's not. I would rather be at 100%. I agree. So I don't understand by being at 100%, why we have to get dinged. If my assessment went up and you're saying that it's not going to affect my taxes, why are we all here tonight saying that our taxes are going to go up?
This county taxes went up.
I did.
I mean, so I'm still making the same amount of money. I'm still supporting my children. Gas have gone up, bills have gone up, school taxes have
I
gone up.
did, except that I keep on the same line.
So please tell me, where are you supposed, I have gone to the grieving committee before, and it's not an easy process. I don't have time to take pictures of my house. Again, I can tell you my house looks just like it did the day I bought it. And for another thing, when you say police, I live in the very last street of town, DeWitt. We consider, and we're 4 blocks. We're considered the bastard children of DeWitt, we call ourselves. You know why? Because when we call the police, you know who comes? The sheriffs or the state troopers. Just like 2 weeks ago, when there was a high-speed chase in our neighborhood, and a guy with a loaded gun parked his car on an empty lot across the street from me, dropped the gun, and took off. You know who was there? Not the town DeWitt. It was the sheriff's department and state troopers. So you please tell me, if you're saying that your costs on their taxes are going up because you have to employ so many police officers, where the hell are they in our neighborhood? Because they're never there. Never. That's all I have to say.
Paul? Big Paul has been waiting.
I'm just trying to see what I can do about batting my eyelashes.
So big.
That might help me.
That's not gonna help.
It's not gonna high heel shoes, maybe. Last year, my assessment went up 45,800. Year before went up 45,800. I remember going to the assessment committee, preparing all my packages and handing them to the board that was there to review. 5 of them. The woman who worked for the Village of East Syracuse was acting as an administrative assistant of sorts. I handed them each a package. They each took the package and handed it to whoever was head of the assessment committee. Nobody looked at anything. I have 2 kids that I'm still paying college loans for.
Does that increase too?
Yeah, and I haven't done anything in my backyard. But put up a fence for a dog. Okay, but I was told actually by Al said that if you have a fence, that's going to increase. It's a wire fence. No vinyl siding, no, nothing special. 91,600. That's just the last 2 years. You, sir, or this incident, you're out of your mind. Okay. Our neighbors sold their house. They put up for 326. They sold it, I believe, for 378 cash. That probably didn't help me. But I'm looking at you guys now.
Yeah, it's
If what Carrie said that you can rescind it, you guys ought to really consider rescinding it. Okay, shame on you.
Yes.
Because I can go in. Some of the people here can't go in and meet and grieve.
And so you take the shot of numerous people that I'll just do it, I'll just pay it. She can't. Okay? Probably doesn't get a raise. I barely get raises every year. But you guys are raising 91,600 in 2 years. Ridiculous.
And again,
And my services haven't changed. Okay? Rocco still knows I call him every other year regarding water in my swale. And he tries to get to me. Okay? The plowing hasn't changed. Rubbish removal hasn't changed. I will be under 10% behind the police department. Most of you know why, but you know, anything for life and safety, you can't jeopardize. But I remember working in the village of East Syracuse many years ago, and maybe you might need to cut parks and recreation. Okay. Life is not life safety. Parents were going to have to do a little more with their kids. But if you need to start doing some budget cuts, you have options.
You're absolutely correct.
I know.
Yeah.
I just want to.
Ability to control that budget.
Gentleman sitting
Yes,
next to
sir.
the lady. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, this has been very informative and educational. And I appreciate all the information you're sharing. You know, I certainly had a very shocking reaction when I saw a 14% increase in the assessment of my property. But then I looked a little more closely and I saw that that doesn't necessarily reflect in the past. It's not the same as my actual tax increase. So for instance, I think the assessment was raised 8% last year, but it's only a 2% increase in my actual property taxes. So this is very emotionally charged. You got all kinds of people. Nobody wants to pay more taxes, right? But you know, you've got issues with your property, you've got grievance process services, but it really comes down to how much money this town is looking for in addition over last year. So is there in fact a town property tax rate increase that you could cite that we had last year or that we're going to have this year? Not the assessment, but the actual property tax rate increase for the town.
We're in the process of putting together the 2020 budget now.
Okay, well, what was it for last year?
$7 total. I don't have the exact number.
Town tax rate last year, 2023 is $3.54 per thousand.
What was the increase?
The rate was actually a decrease. last year.
So it's actually.
Yes, so that's the rate of tax was decreased last year. It still raised more money because.
Budget is 4% higher than the year prior.
Yeah, so it's
Every year for 15 years prior to that, the town's budget only went up 1.5% on average.
right.
We were under 2%. There was 1.8 one year and a 1.2 another and so on.
So you basically said that you doubled it this time, or more.
Last year in 2024,
Yeah. You doubled
or
it.
the 23, it was 4%, yeah.
Three falls.
Yeah,
I mean,
three times.
Right, yes, yeah, but it was,
But you know, I think when.
absolutely, I was opposed to that budget.
Yeah.
Seeing where
I think the scary thing is when we see 14% increases, 9% increases, et cetera. But it's so complicated because you have the tax rate, plus you have this equalization that comes in. And if you did, in fact, only reassess every 3 years, you're gonna get if you have a shock now, what kind of shock are you gonna get after 3 years?
No. It used to be in every year, by the way,
Property values couldn't stabilize and go the other way. But if they stabilize, it'd be stable for each of those.
If you're in a neighborhood where your property values are decreasing, then you're in a really difficult spot. We would hope it's our job to prevent that from our neighborhoods. You just described conditions that say to me, your neighborhood's on the edge. That you could end up in a neighborhood where your property values are decreased. Right? I mean, so.
I just, no, our property value is gonna decrease because the property.
That is will decrease when the homes start selling for less.
That's the inflation, that's the.
Thank you.
Or when you start making slum areas out of beautiful neighborhoods.
But currently, our assessor is able to demonstrate that his assessments are in line with sales. They're slightly below them.
Now, you don't think that'll be low, because of course, but we're asking. You don't know.
Thank you very much.
We want to hear, the lady with the pearl necklace has been waiting.
So I have several questions and I do.
Stand up, please.
I look, oh, my name is Lori.
That's
So I look.
Lori, we're all seeing.
State taxation and finance website because I like didn't understand, speaking to several neighbors. It seems very random, the percentage of new assessment for this year. So for me, it's 20%. And I was like, oh, mackerel. So I want to know several things. One, I did see that New York State sets its property tax limit to the rate of inflation or 2%, whichever is lower. So 2% is the most they can put up our taxes. So where do you get your money? Just what you're doing. You're raising the assessments. So now I'm trying to figure out what is the assessment value in DeWitt? What formula do you all use to determine my home value? Is it square footage? Is it age of my home? I know it has nothing to do with the residents in their home because they're probably, I'm not the only person here living on Social Security now. And it makes a huge difference when I made, 2 and 3 times as much money working. So what is that formula that made my value whatever, and now it goes up 20? And I know there's something to do with categories of homes. I breathed mine when I moved in 91. And they didn't have rhyme or reason. So I did square footage of every cave I could find in the town of DeWitt before it was computerized, except for here I had to come. I'm gonna do that all over again for this. But what clearly you have done too, and you, is that took me over 20 hours of my time. And yes, I will make the time, but it's ludicrous that I should have to do this every year, right. And the other is, I don't care what somebody else's home sold for when everybody is inflation. When there are fewer homes for sale, it's supply and demand. You can ask higher prices, and people have gouged each other in this market. Just like we've been price gouged across the board, and which has nothing to do with you, so that's irrelevant. But with every object in life in the past 3 years.
And the real question will tell you.
Your question is New York State law.
So high is because it's low inventory. There's no inventory, so that's why you're getting higher prices. That's why I'm saying maybe in 3 years, after people exited the state, which they are, property values, then they're gonna come, somebody, you're at the time, oh, I'm gonna sell my house. They're gonna look at my house, because when I bought houses in the past, I look, what are they paying in taxes first? They're gonna say, holy cow, you're paying that much tax? You're assessed at that high? They're gonna move to the next, like a block down to the city, where there's the same neighborhood, same nice neighborhood, but they're gonna go to the city and wait for a house to open up there and screw me. They're not gonna buy mine.
Just one, couple of quick things. I think it was Max there, I can't pronounce his last name.
I got it. What is the formula?
He said that the state says that the property values in central New York have gone up an average of 9%.
I just said that Syracuse.com posted the way back 9% from last year.
It said that my aunt's uncle's house went up, okay, but it's around 9% is what the average is. From what I can ascertain from talking to probably 50 or 60 people and looking online, the smallest assessment increase, and I got one of the smaller ones, that's only 13%, but 13 to 22%. So I get a little confused there. I mean, I'm not a great mathematician, but if the average is under 10%, why is everybody's appraisal going above 10%? And I have to contradict you when you say, the The assessor's a real nice guy. He literally blew me off. Said, that's tough. I just do what I'm told. I gotta go. That's exactly what he said. So take that for how you want to take it, but maybe you should have a little intervention with him and tell him, you better be nice when you got this many people upset with him.
Okay, I don't know if I got answered. What is the?
You didn't get answered yet. Lori is asking for the formula.
The formula is comparable sales. I mean, if you're at 100% of value, formula is comparable sales. So if you live in a neighborhood of 100 houses and 6 have sold for 200,000.
2 capes though.
I know. If it's
Comparable sales capes. So, I mean, I have.
Well, Al, I know,
Footage.
Al, our assessor, I do believe would bring in square footage to say, okay, if this house, sold for 200,000 and was 2,000 square feet, that's a per square foot of $100 a foot, but your house is only 1,500 square feet, then you should be assessed for. But he's basing that on comparable sales. So if the comparable sales are $100 a foot, but your house is 1,500 square feet, then you should get $100 a square foot on 1,500.
Okay, so you're saying, I have to go do all this work again to find out all the cape sales in the town of DeWitt.
I don't know, I mean, no, I mean, if it were me, I think you could pick 3 or 4.
Actually, it was a woman then, and she said, oh, I'm impressed, is that square footage? Almost like never heard of such a thing.
No,
When I asked the people, they couldn't tell me what it was.
that's not true.
Same, well, that's what happened. And it worked at the time, but it was 20 hours of work and all that paperwork. I will do it again. So that's your answer, is it's based on comparables. Thank you.
In your neighborhood.
In my.
So a comparable house, you could take the same square footage and the same floor plan and the same design in many different neighborhoods throughout DeWitt, and they command a different dollar amount. So there are neighborhoods that a small 2,000 square foot ranch would sell at different prices. And so
age doesn't matter if the home is either.
Age matters.
Age.
Old neighborhood,
I would compare other houses of similar character in your neighborhood. But my point is that you don't want to compare in a different neighborhood where the assessor can look at you and say, this neighborhood's selling at a higher value than that neighborhood. Vice versa.
Now the other is pertinent. I, of course, have been busy on Town of DeWitt site trying to find things. And it basically kept telling me a server with the host name couldn't be found. So that's scary.
What couldn't you find?
So I was trying to find out on the website, and we both checked for it, for the RP 524 form, which she said, just Google it. I finally called the office. So there was a link on DeWitt's homepage to it. And because it's form RP 524. And there was a link on DeWitt's website, so I clicked it, and it came, and here's what came up after, and my neighbor did as well. A server with a specific host name could not be found. So when I finally called the assessor's office today, a woman named Terry said, just Google it. So I did, and I printed it. But I'm thinking, let's update the website. Then the other.
Make sure that that form has got a higher profile.
Well, and the other is, I know all about the STAR exemption. This is not the STAR exemption. I happen to have that. But when I got to the New York State site and doing research, I want to know if DeWitt participates in the senior citizens exemption, which is on their website under New York State Department of Taxation and Financial, which basically reads, it's form RP 467, application partial tax exemption for real property of senior citizens. Up to 50% exemption allowed for seniors whose income is between $3,000 and $50,000 yearly. I want to know if DeWitt.
Yes, we do participate, but we have not increased it yet, and the state has allowed an increase. I guarantee we'll increase it.
Okay, so wait, so here's my big question. Great, I'm glad you participate. Here's the interesting part. As a resident in the town of DeWitt, I've never heard of this before. It would have been good to know because apparently applications were due in the town by March 1st. So is there a way we can extend that March 1st for those of us just learning about it, and I don't care what the amount is, I just want to apply for it.
I don't believe there is an exception. You can apply for it.
It says it's up to the individual locales to set that date of March 1st.
No.
That's what it says.
I did ask, because we had one of these come up, I did ask Al, he said, no, that's a mandated March 1st.
As the state, it's their program, not else.
But.
Well, then how come
Get yourself in the queue for 2024 taxes.
What? I'm sorry.
You should file now to get yourself in the queue for that, for 2024.
No, you have to have 2023 federal income tax.
Get yourself in for 2025.
Could we have to put on their website, educate seniors like myself, what programs are available?
I didn't hear what Lori said. Did you say that again?
I would like, if, we get letters from the town of DeWitt, we get that lovely magazine and stuff. It seems to me, I am not somebody who chooses to be on the web if I don't have to be. In my whole teaching career, I've had to live on that thing with Zoom and stuff. I'm sick of it. But I would just like, I managed to get a hard copy. You sent me a hard copy of the assessment. Could there be information for seniors? Just like anybody else, they could let us know, not just if I got when it was star exemption, I got something in the mail. So to inform me, what about this senior thing? I've never heard of it. Could seniors get notified? You certainly know I'm a senior.
Yes. Hang on a second, Sarah. I see no problem with having that information out. In fact,
Thank you.
See, you're welcome. It's okay, because a whole bunch of us sitting here are seniors. We get it.
We aren't getting it.
Well, meaning we got the concept, Jack Dooley. My goodness, here we are.
Get it again.
Hang on a second. The seniors, there is a senior committee through Parks and Rec, as well as there's going a layperson committee. And they are creating, and it is a web thing, but they are creating a tab, Lori, where there will be information for seniors. And I see no reason, Ed, why we cannot include that. Peter, who's our Parks and Recs guru, there's no reason why we can't include that.
Well, it's not part of the Recs thing, though.
Well, it's under senior committee. It's under the jurisdiction of.
I know to look for.
Well, bottom line is, yes, this information can get posted in a.
Variety of places.
How about, yes, this information will be posted. I don't know about the variety of places. The senior part I know. Okay?
And the senior part is under Parks and Rec for those of us ignorant to look, when we think money, we go to the town and DeWitt Assessors Office website.
And we're working on that tab as we speak, because I just forwarded a bunch of senior information to that department. So.
Enhanced, there's another program offered.
Under the assessors tab right now, it's
There's also another.
Is it possible to keep the conversations?
You guys,
Let's maintain one conversation and direct
I'd
it
like
to
to
the.
continue, Lori, quickly, I highly encourage you to submit the STAR application now despite.
I already have the star and enhanced start. I've got it.
Yeah, but you want the senior.
This is a different program.
Yes.
Encourage now, despite the fact that you will not get it for this year because deadline, the town will send you a letter for any incompleteness that will remind you to resubmit your taxes after they were filed.
But wait, but the point is the form RP 467 was due March 1st.
Right, it will not qualify for this year, but you will qualify for next year. And even though you may not have all of the paperwork right
Yeah, right.
the town will preempt you prior to it being due in March next year with a letter.
You're saying that's how the notification could come to me.
Yes.
If I sort of knowingly do it now.
If you already get it, you're in the system and they will send you a reminder letter.
That's well.
Thank you.
Oh, Angela, is it chronological who submits first or is it just?
for the senior citizen?
Yes.
No, it's by deadline date.
Okay.
So, but what Sarah's saying is correct. And
yes.
Because they don't know when you turn 65. So you at least
70s.
Well, So as soon as you let them know, then they can add you to the list of.
All these years, I haven't even known this exists. Do you know this?
I didn't know it
No.
existed.
And that's what I, well,
I'm 69, I didn't know it was.
it'd be nice just in the town and feel free to say, well, that's New York State's job. The point is, I live in the town of DeWitt. I'm supposed to be able to go and navigate all these things like you have a thing for, you know, the town assessors and stuff. It would be nice if some of the programs available to us, aside from the STAR and the Enhanced STAR, if there are other things like this, were of knowledge to us, then I could choose whether to take the time to do the paperwork, which I.
It's currently, it on the back of the tax bill, it's on there, although it's small. Under the assessors tab, and I'm just saying it so you'll know where to look now. Under the assessors tab, they have the senior citizen. And you know, all the things you can apply for. And then also, I believe they do it in their newsletter, but we could do it more often. I mean, I don't
I
think
know
there's
nothing
anything
about
about
it
that
until
we're
I
doing
discovered
something
it on New York State's platform today.
And
When
then
down
go
in the
with
Witt. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we could bring it to more forefront and get it out as many.
And by the way, that's why we're here, for all of you to throw darts at us as well as hearts and rainbows. If anybody has trouble finding something, and I'm looking at, I'd say 4 out of the people who are in this room have called me and said, and yes, and we get it, at least get you in the proper direction and get you squared away. So we are available for you to call and ask us. And we're residents of the town also, and nothing is stupid and nothing is obnoxious or ignorant. We want you to call us because we want to help. Just putting that out there. We're in the front of the bulletin, we're in the front of the website, the book that you guys get twice a year, and we're here and we want you to call us.
Got it today.
Yes.
Oh, you got yours today already?
So I'm just gonna advocate on like my mother. So my mom does not go on the computer well.
There are other things.
So, and I'm piggybacking on what you said, Laura.
Yeah.
And so is there, I know that you're probably saying something about the Parks and Rec, so I just want to make. Even in the doctor's office, she gets frustrated because now everything's on the pad and she doesn't know what to do. And it seems to be, everybody knows what to do but my mom. And Mary's like, I don't know what to do. So is there any way that we can have something to advocate for like people like?
We have a seniors committee, and again, Counselor Doctor is chairing that, and we try to reach out to seniors. I know she holds annual events and so on, where there's tabling and
The seniors are able to get as much information as they can. If she's not going to the website,
if these things are available to her, I would advise that you do that for her. But we would be more than happy, reach out to Counselor Doctor and she'll be happy to link you with services that are available.
But also in respects to like reading the assessments, like, you know, there are people that are not able to physically do it. And still have to pay the taxes because they can't do all the steps that are required in order to get it lowered or whatever, or even be heard. Is there anything in the works or just talking about it? Because we do have a lot of people are living a lot longer and they'd like to stay in their homes. With the assessments going up and taxes and they're not making.
Help navigate.
Yes,
But the tax standpoint, the senior exemption and the STAR program are in for. So she's not in those, make sure that she is.
No, but I think what Don is saying is, what about, she might be able to help her mom, but there are lots of senior citizens, and I can name one who I'm a friend of, 91, who doesn't do the computer at all. And so I'm her friend. She shouldn't, like, it's just, I happen to be her friend who can navigate it, and I'm struggling right now.
County Social Services would be the agency that would be able to help.
County
Services and stuff.
And provide advocates for.
Correct.
So yes, we have a lot
We
of.
don't have a social services.
I think that should be something to be public.
County has a, yes, social services.
We have a whole list of services, which is all wonderful, but what you do is you call me and I can at least get past the gatekeeper.
Like, how do these seniors without being here or on the computer get to know that? That's what Donna's talking about. And how do they need an advocate coming to them to tell them what's available, but how, it's like they have to first know about county social services.
Yeah.
They have to ask.
Community advocates.
What?
Are there now, Lois, with whom you're familiar?
There's one advocate who comes from JCC, but I'm not sure whether she's just health or whether she's the town.
Something to find out. I will find out. Lori and everybody, and Donna, I have no idea, and I'm on the record right now. I will find out, and I am on the record right now.
I love the idea of fossil fuel and all, that's great. I really, I'm an advocate of all that. But human services are greater need at this time. I mean, we've gone through such a horrible time in our history.
Okay.
And so I really think that should be at the forefront.
Okay.
Nothing else.
Peter, do we have anything, I know you have a lot of posters and things. Hang on, Lois, I'm asking our director. Do you have some information with reference to advocacy in your office?
I think that might be some up the steps, but I would have to go and check.
Okay.
It's not something we can use on a regular basis.
But I'll go up and get it.
Yeah, we can.
I'll get it.
Have a look and,
Okay,
get it out.
I'll do it, Ed.
I have two agencies that you could call also, Peace Incorporated in the Village of East Syracuse. I took a lady that in Jamesville has no computer, has no anything. I take her in there and they did her taxes for her and they will do that type of thing. Second agency is Codfish, and it sounds just like it is. Codfish is Community of DeWitt Friends and Sphere. They will take seniors for their dental and doctor's appointments. I've been on that. I'm one of the drivers on that. Those are two agents, Codfish, and they're in the book that you got. If you got your book today from the town of DeWitt, I'm sure they're in that. And also Peace Incorporated is a good one.
Sir, in the back.
Waiting.
Thank you. My name is David. I live on Standish Drive. But I agree with pretty much everything that's been said by the residents here. I think every third year instead of every year, kind of this market seeing with supply and demand. I agree with that. You know, my numbers are similar. I've gone up $75,000 in the last 2 years. I'm just as pissed off as everybody else is here about it. I guess the point I want to make is, so I moved from the town of Lysander 4 years ago. I came here because my daughter was going to CBA. I regret moving to this town. And you know, my house in Lysander was worth about 85% of what my house is worth in DeWitt. My taxes are double what they were in Lysander. And you know, as far as I can tell, the only service I'm getting for that is my trash. It shouldn't cost $6,000 to pick up the trash. So, you know, just from a, you know, my perspective, when my daughter graduates CBA for sales sentence going in there. Because it's just, and I can afford it. I'm blessed, I can afford it. But damn it, I'm not going to, because it's just ridiculous. So I would encourage you to do whatever you can do, because people are leaving, not just the town, but New York State for the same reason. And that's it. Thank you.
Oh, Andy first, because he hasn't spoken yet.
I really think, I don't want to make this too long, because I think we really could just been down the road long enough, but I really think the property values are really high right now because of post-COVID. And I agree with you, property values are up. We've seen houses being sold. But I think to get assessed every year and have a huge kick, my assessment went up 37,000. And these are big numbers. And I really feel that if we were to do this every 3 years or 5 years, probably 5 years isn't going to happen, but I think we can realize 3 years and let the market kind of equal out a little bit after post-COVID. I don't think we're going to have these big shocking numbers every year.
You could try.
You could try. I mean, it might happen, but I also think that the property values are going to go down a little bit. Now, does anybody ever see their taxes really go down? I mean, you say that with a straight face if you can. They don't go down. Once they're up, You never reduce them unless somebody comes in and fights and argues and stuff, but once it's up, and they're like, hey, you know, they're not gonna do anything, they're not gonna argue, leave it where it is. So to say that you're gonna bring them down again when the market changes is a false hope. It's a lie. So I really think that it would be a very good idea to do this, to level it out, to go to 3 years. We all know that you have to increase them based on, you know, property values and stuff, and I get that. But I don't think you have to do it every year. I think at that point, it's just a money grab. We're all getting sick and tired of writing bigger checks for these taxes and stuff. And you're not gonna reduce them even if the property values go down. Your tax rate is there, you have 100% full value. I don't think I've ever talked to Alan. He said he's gone around and he's reduced them because, you know, the rate went down or, you know, the market went down. It just doesn't happen. So we all know that. We all have houses in the town. I really would implore you to think about that. Yes, I think it's a good idea to do it. It's a fair thing to do for the town, for the residents.
Here's the
And
challenge.
you really need to look at it.
Here's a challenge. Put it on the ballot. See what the public votes, yes or no. Do you want your assessed 3 years or 1 year? And let's put let's try it. Put it on the ballot and see what happens.
If you want, you can find a way to make it work. If you don't want to, it won't change. It's up to you. It's up to everybody sitting up there. I don't care. You can throw the assessor under the bus. It's his call, this, that, and the other. You throw the state, you throw the county, but it's up to each and every person sitting up there that makes the policies, that asks for the money, asks for everything. It's up to you, not to the rest of us. It's your job. It's what you're paid for.
I heard then out of everything, two things, if I may, Ed. Folks are interested in budget cuts. And folks are interested in lieu of an annual assessment, a 3-year assessment. Now, do I have those two issues square? Okay.
Smart budget cuts, not just.
And can you put it to the ballot? I'm all for that. Why can't you?
Will it have to look for in terms of
Technically, no, sir, you can't just put whatever question you want on the ballot.
There is a municipality can put certain things on the ballot.
That's true, but not any issue you can't just put onto the ballot. As far as your issue,
Is that considered any issue, an assessment rate?
there are certain issues that are in the state law that I don't have in front of me that you.
Because the state's saying right now, you don't have to, this municipality does not have to assess it every year.
State does not require municipalities to assess every.
Every year. So that's what I'm saying. So why wouldn't it be able to be on a ballot? But let the community decide instead of you guys.
And it depends on what the law says. So there are certain things that can and cannot. I don't have enough knowledge to tell you yes or no for sure, but.
That's something I could look into.
And so can I can't anticipate every question that comes up, but I can.
That'd be good. That'd be a fair way of the supervisors, because he wants it every year. It'd be a fair way because his right is just as equal as my right.
I only know there are other issues that the board has considered putting on the ballot that we weren't able to do so. So I don't know where the assessment's fallen, but certainly I can look at it, sir.
And I would entertain dividing the town up into thirds and allowing a.
But that's-
What I'm opposed to, sir, is waiting 3 years to assess because the shock value would be too great. The town were proportionally rotated so that each year there was a slight readjustment of the assessments, whether it went up or down. But first of all, it's too large of a job for the assessor to just wait 3 years and then go. This has been an ongoing process where he tracks that.
Other counties can do it and have done. And it's that, I don't see no shocks. I don't see anybody jumping up.
I think it's hard.
In the other counties.
Nothing worthwhile doing is easy.
Didn't say, not the 100% isn't easy.
I don't.
I believe we made the more difficult choice, that the municipalities that are falling away from 100% are making the easy choice. Because they're hiding and masking their budget increase
Doing 100%.
behind lower and lower percentage. I've said that several times now, and I won't say it again. but we've made the difficult choice, and that's why you're here.
No,
A lot of those municipalities, the average in New York State is apparently 4 years, according to the website that towns and municipalities do it. And there's 100% on loan. You can look up every municipality, many across New York State, 100%, but they're not being reassessed every year. The final note of clarity, you guys said I have to look it up based on neighborhood. So my question then, wouldn't it make sense that in my neighborhood, all of our assessments should have gone up the same percentage because our neighborhood had a house for sale that went up, and so all of us should be the same percentage increase, correct? It wouldn't mean we have the same assessment amount. I realize that should be, I'll start wherever we are, but should it be the same percentage of increase? Could you help me with that?
I could not. I am not assessor, and I wouldn't pretend to be.
Okay.
So those are the arguments you should make if you
No,
get.
just question.
When you go in front of the assessor or the board of assessment review, and if you're not happy with the assessor.
But in New York
Again,
State,
there's 5 individuals that are non-compensated that make decisions on behalf of the public and have a good track record overriding the assessor. So again, I encourage you to take your arguments to the board of assessment. Yep.
That lady, she leave already?
we just would like you to just think about what we're saying. 2 things, this nice lady, I'm not sure of your name, stated. Consider evaluating assessments every 3 years. Consider it.
That's what I heard,
Yeah.
the population.
And the other one she heard was the assessments being just every year.
And Lois had mentioned the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So there are all kinds of options out there.
If anything happens, like I said, I appreciate you listening to us. I really do. I appreciate it because it's the first time I've ever even come to a board meeting. Because I just felt that it's gone
if I
away.
didn't
It's
answer
gone to
New
the
York
dark
State.
side.
Glad you came.
It's gone to the dark side.
Thanks.
It's quite Star Wars later.
Gone to the dark.
Yes.
And my taxes are gone. I don't want to move out of the state,
We're
but
gonna stay here in DeWitt.
it's getting to the point where it's almost like you want us to move out of the state. You don't want to see.
You're a state pensionee. I'm sure the state would prefer
And
you.
yeah, but my pension will follow.
Aren't you blessed?
Yes, with a much lower tax rate in another state. Thanks for listening.
You're welcome. See you soon, we hope. Come back, everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I just wanted to point out, we can comment on the Q&A section.
Is it a comment or a question?
It appears to be a comment.
Okay, we'll record that.
Here's like.
Here.
I can find it on New York State.
Oh, there's a reason, because,
Sorry,
You just want to go home.
leave that up to you.
How about that? What can
I'm an employee, but I can say.
I don't talk to you.
All right, well, we.
Look at the eyes.
Thanks.
First time I've been to one of these, so you gotta tell me what to do, or what, you guys ask questions. I think Angela told me, you just do what you, put some stuff together and they'll ask you questions.
You presented before, right?
You want me to pull your report?
Yeah, you can put my, you will have a copy.
It came in our,
You had it way back when in.
March 13th, you said.
Yeah.
So let me get to
Yeah,
it.
so, yeah, sorry about not being here in
Here
March.
you are, you're right here, March 13th. Tell me it came in today's,
It came again today, yeah.
came again today. Thank you, Angela. All right, we're still first, I can't.
Everybody should have.
You are.
I always have. I can't help it. I was a teacher too. Right, we sort of run to a type, I'm afraid.
1 minute.
Yeah, just some of the board members, actually 3 of us, you've given them.
I don't know what they're doing.
Say like you were already.
I'm just going to stand up because my feet are getting cramped.
That's okay.
That's on the record.
Putting Rocco to sleep. Yeah, putting you to sleep.
No, get each other up over there.
Anything good to eat over there?
That's almonds.
No, I've been like M&Ms or.
What kind of flavor of almonds are we talking about?
Wasabi and soy.
And have some.
But those are too hot. No,
I got 5 Mexicans, don't worry.
maybe we better turn that.
Sorry.
Not more nice.
I got you, you know I got you.
Wow, it's.
Second wave.
You. You?
Yes.
Our septic tank decided to self-implode last night. We were staying at my parents' house. So not great. We're trying to figure out if it's complete destruction. And I said, then I get on the sewer train really fast. Or if it's, I don't know, fixable, if that's the right
What's going on
word.
with the sewers over there?
I don't know, I don't even know if sewers are on.
So I went.
Lineker's, yeah, I don't know.
There's a few people.
That's a good dump.
So you all.
Yeah.
Pretty much our whole road, all subject in the, going back to the golf course.
They didn't know. I said, there has to be rising.
Fall into a black hole.
No.
It went really well, thank you. Good job. Yeah, I drove everybody away. Good job. No questions, no nothing.
You should do that every single year. And
Gary Van.
you know, I believe we schedule.
There they are.
It's like things are artificial labor.
I don't think so. My personal opinion is catching another.
You know what I think?
Are you doing everything possible?
I need to come with Karen. Why? And so I think like.
Instead of highway department.
Yeah, she's stuck in there.
The town said, okay. You know what's that? It's right.
I love how people throw me under the bus.
But out of the town.
It's no trouble. I don't.
You only want around a few people.
Is that the guy that was talking about the,
That asshole.
So it was not me.
Yeah, whenever you guys say that one was, you put a notice because I had a stick.
ours was kickbacks longer than 6 feet.
So now every time I put my stick, I'm like, oh, yeah. Do the old. Oh, it's.
Everybody's nice.
My personality.
They seem the authority to take it like that.
They didn't take it, she just signed a letter. Which
Notice.
which
It's not the. No, man, it was right across the street from me. I haven't seen him yet. That's the nicest guy. He's like. So he's like, oh, I got the Beverly Hills house there. It's got mattresses, I'd like to do that. I saw my other neighbor was up with his, he's putting his grass out. He's putting his grass out. And I said, hey, Rick, how you doing? It's good. He's got a big grass. That's great. You get a notice? No. Well, that's going to be putting your grass. Yeah. Put him up there. Yeah, rock with the highway guy. He does not like grass. We try to break you up.
Former teachers. They're not in the senior.
Get in this.
Yeah, I got one of them so far. I'm looking at the other two now.
Yes.
Okay.
You're the other part.
For the court center, for the, oh, yeah.
I still have.
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Yes, thanks for listening.
Oh, we like to listen and we like to help. Now we're gonna listen to Peter.
Have a good day.
Okay, you too.
That's Peter.
Sorry, Peter. I'm here.
Better team the Lions.
I'm right, yeah, it's all right. We're all set.
Sorry about that.
The Lions are our residents. It's okay. Okay. Speak to us.
All right. Well, as I said, this is kind of a new thing to me. So I put together this letter people got, I think, in front of you, or you can see somewhere.
Right here.
And you in front of you. That came out in March, and thank you for being able to postpone that because of a family unpredictable situation. Basically, over the last, what about now, 9 months, 10 months? 10 months. Since I've been here. There is still a lot I don't know. But I've been able to, through completing the staff or right-sizing the department a little bit, able to get a lot more done. And I think one of the things that we've been able to do is in essence throw a lot more programs at the wall and see how many stick, see whether people respond or not. And that's kind of a constant challenge is what can we think of? What are people going to respond to? You know, Brandon came up with the idea of an archery program. We've been pushing it for a while and have nobody. He came up with the idea for the men's and ladies basketball leagues. We pushed those. We had 2 teams for ladies and none for men's. It's, you know, it's, I think, still a little bit of a transition from I hate to say post-COVID after that entire conversation. But it's a little bit of post-COVID transition. I think people are beginning to start to get outside to do things. I think it's given the, I think if you get people's children involved, you get people to come out. If you're asking people to go out by themselves, it's not as easy a sell. We offered a chess program to the after school program and got 15, 18 kids up at the same program inside the town hall here. Had 3 gentlemen who came on Tuesday afternoons. So it was not as well, just, you know, perhaps DeWitt is not a chess playing place. I mean, that might be it. But it could be also that those people aren't interested in getting out. So one of the things
depends on, and this is no fault of yours, but in today's society, some people use Twitter, others use Facebook, it's a web page, others use the traditional newspapers and newsletters. So
Word of mouth.
yeah, it's very difficult to get a message out, especially in a, let's say you announce it in January for a sign up in March or something.
I think one of the things that is, one of the things we found out about our software was that it limited how many bulk emails you could send out every month to 20,000 emails, which if you've got 5,000 people on your mailing list, you can only send out 4. And that was just not burning out. And if you sent 100 people an email during the course of that, that counted against your 20,000. And so you then could only send out 3 in a bit. We've actually doubled that, been able to arrange with the company.
All right,
Double that.
services.
No, through the software company themselves. They have yet to bill me for it, but it was $500 to go for another 20,000 emails. But that allowed us to broadcast a lot more. And I think we have got a lot more participation through all of that, you know, for a lot of different things. Throughout this, I touched on, you know, the advantages of having Brandon in our group, what Sandra has brought, which is a huge amount of experience to the table with her 16 years on the other side of town, and how her being there has helped Shannon take some of the programs that she was less excited about doing, but had done, and start to handle those, because she basically did everything before. I think it's been also, it's going to be a little bit of a transition for Shannon, because I think she and Narissa competed with each other a lot during the time that they were there, whether they realized it or not. One would take on what the other one wasn't doing or was doing, and so she's got to learn to give that up. But she's doing a great job. She did, and I asked where that went just the other day. We did get a grant of about $5,400. I don't know whether it's a grant or an award from the Coordinated Care Services, the city, Syracuse and Onondaga County Youth Bureau, Municipal, I forgot the rest of the title of them. We got to, so, and that was specifically for our peer program at the Clem Center. It allowed us to basically not have them pay registration, which was minimal in any case, but we did away with the registration, and we are going to be able to buy some new equipment for the facility once the school year is over. So that was great in that regard. Questions that you might have for me? What I sent out. Yeah.
What, not necessarily per se with what you said, because you and I spend a lot of time together, but who puts the flyers and such for events on your page so that people know about them?
All 4 of us can do that.
Okay, they're on your way. I'm sending you 32 right now.
Yeah, we can, as long as I don't have to do them tonight.
I don't have to do them tonight.
But yeah, all 4 of us have mastered how to post something on Facebook or on our portion of the website.
Okay, and also on the, you have like a dedicated Facebook page as well?
There is a recreation department website, yes. So,
Got a question for you on Canal Days, and I think it's more of a board decision.
okay.
I don't know if you guys, if you've been talking with people about it, but
Yes.
I mean, I think Canal Days is like vintage 1975. I think it's stale, been stale for a long time. I think it costs us a lot of money. And I don't think it's worth the expense that we spend on it versus the bang we get from the community. So I mean, my thought is, why don't we scale it down to a 5 or 6 PM until fireworks time, skip renting a stage, skip renting a band. If you want to get a DJ, we get a DJ. Have a few food trucks come over, have the fireworks, and we'd probably save $25,000.
Well,
Tell them, we're glad that you're an audience plant because we have a brand new way through, thanks to Peter, of approaching Canal Day.
yeah, we had, I had the same thought myself. before. Two reasons. One, we do have quite a heritage on the canal. But Canal Day is totally divorced from our heritage on the canal. So we should try and do something to celebrate our history on the canal. And try and keep that, albeit aged, event that various people seem to love going in one form or another. And literally, everything you just said, we have decided to do. So I don't know whether you were listening or.
It's in the newsletter today.
October
It's already changed. It's in the newsletter today. Right?
We're
Yeah.
doing it in October
Yeah.
this year.
It's
Didn't
August the
see it in
12th.
the newsletter today.
I don't get, I haven't gotten a newsletter in like.
So we, in the newsletter, we called it.
I signed up,
Celebrate.
never gets emailed.
August
So-
12th, Peter?
August 12th, yeah.
Okay.
We called it Celebrate.
Everything you're asking them to do, it's in there.
And
Thanks for telling me.
we called it Celebrate DeWitt Day. We've had some feedback from people who call and say, I'd really like to be involved in Canal Days. Rather than break it to them that there are going to be Canal Days, we called it Celebrate DeWitt Canal Days for this time. Now, because the canal celebrates a 200-year birthday next year, I think there is all sorts of opportunity for us to do something with other communities down the canal. Celebrate that, whether it's all on the same day or it's over a course of whatever, the entire year or several months or weeks.
The Heritage Program has grants available.
Right, and you forwarded that to me today, so we can start to look at that for next year. So yeah, Canal Day, I think, you know, it being at my first one for a long time. Last year, it was pretty much obvious that everybody came for the fireworks. That was it. You know, a few people came to see the band. So this year we have gone with a cheaper band. They're only at $1,000. Well, we may end up at the state, but we are also going to have presentation from kids that are involved in our day camp. They are going to be doing a review, their own personal thing. That's part of what we hope to be part of it. Food trucks is another entirely different story right now. But ideally, yes. And it will be pretty much from 5 till fireworks at all. So, yeah.
And fireworks in October now?
No, August, it's August the, it's the.
October.
I said it, it's wrong.
You just have to listen to me,
Yeah.
all right?
Get me through it. You're in October out there.
Doc, you gotta stop talking.
So,
It is.
anybody else got anything? I mean, we had our trunk or treat, the first one of those, which I think became the biggest event the town had ever had. Purely by accident. And, you know, we followed that up with a walk at Oakwood Park to investigate some of the things that happened there. I've already got in touch with Oakwood Park again to do that. Trunk or treat will be the week before. It's October the 22nd, so you can plan your calendars accordingly. Other things, our senior programs are doing well. One of our senior leaders retired. The others have stepped up to take her place. So in that regard, we are still well covered. We are already planning. In the department, you know, by the time the next one newsletter comes out, we've already got to be thinking about the next one and the one after that. So we're already talking about Christmas or holiday time. It's bizarre. But that's the way that things tend to go. Questions from you guys, because I have two things for you before I go that aren't on the list here.
Well, I just wanted to ask how planning was going for the summer day camp program.
Great. The summer day camp. When I put together the budget for this year, halfway through last year, we didn't think we were going to have, we didn't know where we were going to be. So we did not plan on any aquatic staff. And of course, as luck would have it, we managed to get Jamesville DeWitt Middle School, which has a pool. So and then, of course, the state, realizing that there weren't too many people doing lifeguarding and all that stuff, put out a minimum wage for those folks of $20 an hour. So all the ones who are already qualified have, that disappeared. So we're now entertaining the idea of, I think we've got somebody who can be the supervisor. We've got a couple of people who can be lifeguards, but we're going to have to scale everything back a little bit. But we've got 225 kids registered and a waiting list for summer camp. We have staff on paper. We're waiting to get all that paperwork back, but we have a group of people that we've committed to of 47. So I think we're staffed well. We've got good numbers. A lot of them are quite a number of them are teachers or teachers' assistants who want to do this as well. And that's made it, that allows us a little bit of breathing space so that staff don't have to be there every day to make sure what's going on.
Is 225 an increase from last year?
Yeah, last year we had 170.
Is 225 your limit? So
No.
we're actually closing people out?
No, we have a waiting list because what we did was when we opened it up, we asked for payments in a third before June the 1st. People are slowly but surely paying. If they haven't paid by June the 1st, then we're going to give them a little bit of a leeway, but if they haven't, then we'll start to pull from the waiting list.
Could you
Mr.
can't
Aquatic?
staff more than 225?
We go for the ratio, one counselor for every 12 participants. We're shooting for 1 to 10. We have just enough to do that. I think if we went any more, we would have to probably take some people that we were not as happy with. Employees, yeah. So if we know that we could have 250, we could have ramped up a little bit, but I think we're kind of getting to the point where the supply of potential counselors is getting fewer and fewer and fewer, and we've reached a good number. We probably have, if all 47 agree to work with us, we could do another 10 or 15 people. Yeah, so I think we'd be.
So your camp counselor population is diminishing, but your teacher population is increasing?
A little bit of a teaching population is, yeah.
Yeah, because that's one of the things, goes back for years, we've encouraged the department to take on more teachers.
And this year, I think they had more.
Or in after school programs as well.
Yeah, and I have in fact, just now you mention it, because big challenge for us, I think going into next year will be recruiting people to do the preschool program, which is only an hour. It's hard to, unless you are a college student or a parent or retired, to find somebody who wants to work for an hour every morning. And maybe an hour or two in the afternoon. But somebody who can be reliable and everything else. And it's just, we're looking at the list.
Traditionally,
right now saying
this is long before your involvement, but this is conversations, and I'm gonna sit down with you. I'll have Angela arrange a meeting and we can have these conversations, but you might as well be forewarned. I requested in years past that we expand that teacher outreach program, and the department historically did not hire teachers outside of the JD or ESM school district. And so my push always was, there's a lot of good retired teachers willing to take these roles on, maybe from West Jenny here.
Yeah, we haven't limited where we recruit from. The one thing I did do was ask the school district because I had asked them, if we don't do this, how does it impact you? Because I looked at how many kids how many families there are in K through 5 in the school district. And I think there's 900 families. We have 25 of them. And it was like, okay. And on any given day, maybe half of them are there. So we're servicing this tiny little blip on the school district radar. And they said, yeah, it helps us out. And I said, okay, can you can I advertise for TAs to come and work in the morning from the school district? And they're waiting to get back to me.
Thank you.
So,
Your aquatic program, is it a one-day thing or was that multiple?
well, we were gonna try and do it every morning for
Or
the kids who are at the camp.
for how long is that? How many weeks?
6 weeks, 5 weeks.
All right, I was gonna suggest Tom Richardson at the pool at Hamlin Pool's got a lot of lifeguards that might be able to help you out. You could probably give me names and
He
numbers.
probably needs them for their own.
Yeah, well, when you said 6 weeks, that probably nullifies my question.
Yeah. Anybody else? No. Okay, I have two questions.
Comments, questions?
I have two questions for you guys.
Sure.
You have probably seen floating around, my staff have asked me to ask you this, okay, so. You've seen floating around, they have this logo that says DeWitt Parks and it's like a shooting star. And if you go on their T-shirts and sweatshirts and what have you. And I pointed out to them not long ago, I said, you know, this looks like the Make-A-Wish Foundation logo. Since then, we have been trying to work out what to do. One of our staff came up with something that is very locally themed to get rid of the star and the DeWitt Rec. You probably can't see it. It's water with trees and a sunshine around it. It says DeWitt Rec on it. Water is in fact Cedar Bay. So, and then it's just trees, and it's just gonna go on T-shirts that are for the rec.
Town has a logo.
And the town has a logo too, yeah.
Yeah, no, well, I'm just saying, and the green is the rec, like Parks and Rec.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah. The town has a logo. This has been on shirts, the Make-A-Wish fan, I call it the Make-A-Wish star has been on stuff. I have no idea how long. We just wanted to change it for something else. Anybody have any problem?
Oh, well, would it be, I don't know, maybe it went, but would it not be more cost effective to use the already developed logo that we have for the town?
The town one?
Yeah.
It's right
It's
on.
actually more cost effective to only do black and white. Doesn't matter what it is.
Town of DeWitt's logo is right on the.
In front of us.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was.
I'm traditional in the sense that I think it brings a sense of continuity to the entirety of the town.
Yep.
To help just bring that back to.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, all right, I will take that. And lastly, as many of you know, the NJCAA is having their World Baseball, Softball.
Women's softball junior college tournament at Carrier Park.
Right. And at a meeting we had just last Friday, it was suggested that perhaps the town board would be interested in attending one evening, perhaps the Wednesday evening, and sponsoring a pizza dinner for the players and go and shake hands with players, meet NJCAA officials, generally try and sell the program. We know we're not getting it next year, but we believe we're getting it the year after. And then there is a bid for the next 3 years, and it would go a long way to have everybody there shaking hands and bad ragging with the.
I was there almost every night last year, so I'd be amenable.
What's the specific date that you like?
We were looking for the 24th.
May 24th.
May 24th. It's a Wednesday night. We are looking into getting pizza donated right now. And finding places that can do that for us. We just need you all to give it your blessing and to come.
I'm amenable
What
to.
time, Pete?
I think it would be probably 6 o'clock.
I want to volley something back at you, because I made this request last year and years prior as well. But for other events, but I would like to see us outreach to every high school and invite the women's softball teams from those high schools to come witness the college players play. And so there is a schedule of high school games that's obviously going to conflict with some of this. I believe the high schools play Thursdays. But somewhere in that weekend, Friday or Saturday afternoon, we should promote through the athletic directors or the coaches or who's ever got a contact list to invite, and you might, I don't know, are we getting entrance fees?
No, because it's all run through the NJs.
They come to this.
For the public to come in?
Yeah.
I gotta find that out, because somebody asked me today and I didn't know the
If
answer.
there's an entrance fee, then I would offer a discount or even a free for any high school women's softball team that comes in their uniforms and witnesses the games. I think the park needs to be discovered by the local and softball teams. And there's probably, outside ASM and a couple other teams, it's probably now well known. And this event is a good event. Good way of drawing those teams in.
I will, we have a meeting on Friday again, I'll bring that up. In fact, I'll just shoot it out tomorrow when I go into work.
And just let us know the cost of the pizza or whatever.
Okay, well, we'll try and get it, but nothing, but, all right, well, thank you.
I know the Tuesday night beforehand is the.
Yes, Tuesday night is now beforehand, and you're gonna be there, I understand, in any case, too.
And I was there.
Everybody.
Play last year too.
Yeah,
I think the championship game was on Sunday.
it's gonna be Saturday this time.
Saturday?
It's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday.
Saturday, okay.
Yeah.
And the biggest controversy I've heard about right now is that the NJCAA does not want play occurring on the empty field. They start out with teams playing on 2 fields.
Yes.
And then I want to say the last couple of rounds are only played on 1 field. And our contractor wants to put softball teams on the other field, and the NJCAA doesn't want that. So I don't know where you stand on that. I'm of the mindset we need to keep the NJCAA happy.
Absolutely.
So that they return in those subsequent
Yeah,
outcomes.
I think that would probably be, the better way to.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, having said that, I think they're busier this year than they were last year. So they are looking to maximize the use of the space.
Yeah.
So.
So you would like the town board members to be there at 6 o'clock on the 20th?
I will confirm a time with you.
I'll be there.
I will, I'll be there.
All right.
What week is it?
May 24th.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Edward, May 24th.
Yes, it's 2 weeks from now, so
Yeah.
might not be too much.
Just gotta make sure there's no wedding. You don't have anybody getting married that weekend.
Coming up. That's happening my anniversary, so I'm 50-50.
Well, if you want it to be your last anniversary, you know which one to do.
Right. Didn't tell you what I get.
The flowers will be done at the sign by Pam.
Bring your wife up.
What
a nice day.
I heard you, Jack. The flowers on the side will be done by Pam Dooling.
Volunteer.
Okay.
Oh, we really digressed.
To all those people,
Say,
And I will.
sorry.
I got a
Yes, you had a question.
That is to call Butler, the trash man, tell him because we've been requested to pick up more twice during the day on all days of the tournament.
Oh, okay.
So I'll take care of that.
You want to take care of that?
I'm in the trash. I'm the trash.
Okay. All right.
Trash.
Anybody else got anything?
Oh, cool.
Last
I will say,
Yes.
for the logo, if you're concerned about colors, because that's what it seems like you're concerned with for cost. There is a Parks logo that only really has the green. You could go black with the other portion of that and then limit the colors that you have.
Just use the green. Or.
Yeah, and just use, it looks like this. So you're just.
Oh, yeah.
You could use,
Okay.
I think you could use black for the other part and just use green for that one, and that would limit it.
Oh.
Yep,
Doesn't say parks, does it?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's parks.
We'll have to say
Yeah,
recreation.
you could probably even do the whole thing
There's no
green.
park here.
Or even just use the logo if you're going on a green shirt.
Recreation there.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Very much.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Don't stay too long.
Yeah, your mouth to,
Here. Okay, how about executive? We were together in the morning.
is there anything left?
They didn't want to say anything about the presentation. I was just gonna say that I submitted my presentation. guys.
You
And if
did.
you don't have any questions.
You took an AOT class. I was very excited about that. Who taught it? Sarah?
Sarah and Katie.
Yes.
There was another woman, I can't remember.
She told me she was working on that.
Yeah,
So
yes, they did a great job.
I'm so glad.
Hey,
I
I'll
love that.
entertain a motion to enter executive session. Jack, a second from Sarah. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed, abstained, motion's carried. Matt, court security contract.
Oh, wait,
Wait, we gotta
We're still
turn the
on.
thing off.
Oh, geez. Oh, I'm sorry.
Good point.
And I think I'm gonna have to talk to Dan because it's been acting very slow tonight.